in mind to bring the ultimate prize west of the Sheahan and end the long hunger that burns inside every man, woman and child in our county, at home and abroad. You, the supporters, have always stuck by the green and red, and regardless of the outcome, you will stick by them again this year. But we can dare to dream to beat the Dublin team, an outstanding football team of their generation. Cillian O'Connor and his squad have every chance of making those dreams come true. They've sacrificed so much of their lives in the last few months. All we can do is give them all our support and wish them the very best of good luck on Sunday. Time to live, time to grow up, time to do it. Canieri liver fad.
OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All right, if you just joined us, you're very welcome. Most of you will have just joined us on our streams on our social, but if you've been listening to OTB Sports Radio, then you've just missed the rousing speech that Enda Kenny gave, channeling his inner Jed Bartlett. I think we might have added the West Wing music behind it just to layer on, just to put it on with the chat. It was rousing stuff. If you weren't ready to go out and rip the heads off Kerry/Dublin, having had Enda deliver that, just implicating you in the history of the green and red and the wider community, all the way back to Queen Maeve or whoever it was. She was Ulster, whoever she was fighting. The Brown Bull of that was, you know what I mean. The time of mythology. The Saw Doctors, exactly.
It's magnificent. I wonder what final that was from. I presume it was.
Oh, we can have a bit of it. Tommy's going to give us a bit of it. I wonder what final was here. Here's a little bit of it. I should keep talking until it actually comes on, shouldn't I? So, here we go.
The journey of Mayo football over the last 65 years has been one of dedication, thrilling football and high drama. Since 1951, our county warriors have given us their all. Blood, sweat and a lot of tears. It's September again and Mayo are back in the greatest stadium on earth. And as they run out onto that sacred soil this weekend, the support from the West and around the world will be deafening. This team, like all those before them, have one ambition in mind: to bring the ultimate prize west of the Sheahan and end the long hunger that burns inside every man, woman and child in our county.
Every man, woman, monkey.
You, the supporters, have always stuck by the green and red, and regardless of the outcome, you will stick by them again this year. But we can dare to dream to beat the Dublin team, an outstanding football team of their generation. Cillian O'Connor and his squad have every chance of making those dreams come true.
True.
They've sacrificed so much of their lives in the last few months. All we can do is give them all our support and wish them the very best of good luck on Sunday. Time to live, time to grow up, time to do it. Canieri liver fad.
Wow.
Just went off script there at the end.
Did he? Or was that like the...
I think it was like best of luck, and he was like, nah, I'm just going to say time to live.
Time to live.
The greatest city on earth?
Time to do it.
It's marvellous. So it obviously is one of the Dublin ones of recent times. I'm ready to run through a wall. I'm not sure about you. I'm ready to don the... There's a Mayo jersey right over there. I'm ready to put on and run into Croke Park and, I don't know, kill somebody. After that, that's my blood is boiling after that.
The blood is up. I was about to say, the blood is up, for sure. Holy moly, that was mad. I hadn't heard that before. That's why this was an impromptu start of the show this morning. Mm-hmm. I was going to tell you that we've got Paddy Tally lined up to talk to us to preview one of the big games of the weekend, which I think had a seismic lurch in potential outcomes yesterday with the news that Kieran O'Connor broke his arm.
Seismic lurch in terms of Mayo season, really. It's going to take 2 months for him to recover. Could you push that up to 8 weeks? 8 weeks out from the All-Ireland final, I think we are at the moment, or something like that? Potentially.
I did see some Mayo fans going, should we be back for the semi-final? I'm like, hang on a second. Chances of Mayo making an All-Ireland semi-final without a fully fit and fully functioning Diarmuid O'Connor not quite nil, but not far off it.
I think nil. I think nil is overstating it.
Give me the pathway. So they win this weekend, right?
They win this weekend.
A home game against Armagh, you'd expect them to win.
You'd expect you still make them slight favourites at this point. It's a really, really tough draw.
So a handy draw next week would be
Meath with their heads down.
Yeah.
Cork would be a handy draw for them.
Would it?
Relatively speaking. Cavan and Galway are the two that they don't want to get. I think they may fancy their chances against Galway because of the fact that there's kind of revenge in the line, and Galway also would be kind of in a bit of a poor state after the Roscommon results.
So what draw do we need them? What side of the draw do we need them in? Do we need them in the Roscommon, Dublin?
Mayo.
Yeah.
Well, do you want them in the Roscommon Dublin side? I guess you do, because it's easier to finish second in that group.
Yeah.
So that means you'll want them to draw Cork or Cavan.
Okay. All right. So there's a pathway, and then they have to beat Roscommon. So that's possible.
It'll be that game maybe in the Hyde actually, or it could be in Castlebar. I'm not sure how that'll work out. It depends who they draw, but yeah, like there is a pathway. Of course there is. It all depends on what happens next Monday if they win this Saturday. But Diarmuid O'Connor and Matthew Ruan, trying to negotiate your way through the summer with those two would have been tough enough after getting knocked out and into the back door. Doing it without them now is going to be extremely, extremely difficult. If James Horn manages to pull an All-Ireland off from this position, it'll be one of the greatest sporting achievements we've seen.
I mean, to get back to an All-Ireland final, to get beaten by Dublin, that would also be a great achievement.
It would. It wouldn't quite have the gloss on it, but maybe we'll get another rousing speech from Enda.
This generational team.
Is that what he described them as? That's how I would describe the Dubs.
The Dubs, yeah.
Yeah, they are a generational team. Every team is a generational team.
It's
really, if you think about it.
It's true. All right. What have we got coming up today? What do you want to get off your chest today?
What do I want to get off my chest today? There's not a lot I want to get off my chest today, to be quite honest with you. There's
friends on Off the Brawl last night had a suggestion.
That we fight each other?
Yeah.
There's a good thing there's weight classes in fighting and stuff like that.
Hey.
I am...
Shots fired.
Well, I'm not sure, do you want
There's
to...
age classes as well. You know, you're like 18 years younger than me.
Really? Has that been mentioned over the last couple of weeks?
I don't think so.
I hadn't heard that.
No one brought that up.
Like climbing Alpe d'Huez and delivering an uppercut are not the same things. I should deliver that warning right now. So
you would win that fight?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. There's no absolutely no question about that.
Okay. We should. Do you want to try it out?
Well, I'm trying to think of good trash talking lines here. Leave it with me, and I'll spit some fire before the end of the show.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's what's coming up on the show this morning. We've got Shot Clock from Kieran Donaghy coming your way at around about 20 past 8. 5 past 8. Daniel Harris also 5 past 8. We're going to split the screen. Daniel Harris on one side and Kieran Donaghy on the other. Our sports page is coming your way in just a little while. There you go. There's the better one. Shot Clock 20 past 8. Kieran Donaghy may have slept it in this morning. James Sugrue is coming your way at 8:40 after his success in qualifying for the Open and a bunch of great stuff next year as well. Paddy Tally is going to join us after 9 o'clock to help us preview the weekend's action. And he's obviously got first-hand knowledge of a couple of the key protagonists. And then Phil Sports News around about 9:15. You can get us on the hashtag OTBAM this morning. We should tell you as well, when I was talking about Enda, we have launched OTB Sports Radio. It's Ireland's first sports radio station. You can get it at offtheball.com/radio for your delectation. And we'd be very interested in your feedback. If you've got any ideas or anything that you want to hear on that, then you can get in touch with us by using that hashtag OTBM, or indeed on Twitter. It's probably the easiest way. Now, let's bring you to the newspapers. I'm going to start this morning with the Irish Daily Mirror. One for the future. He wore the shirt as a child. Today, Wan-Bissaka will join Manchester United for a massive £50 million. There was genuine joy from the Man United fans in the office yesterday that this signing had gone through and they hadn't been completely ripped off. They were excited about this. They were like, the money doesn't matter that much. We haven't been ripped off. He's going to change the entire culture of the club. It's got a lot to put on the shoulders of one young man.
It's a lot to put on the shoulders of one young man. It's a fantastic signing, though. Like, there is a stage where you get to when you do kind of suspend whatever you really think is the valuation of a player. And Manchester United have to start doing that, and it's the way they've been behaving really in recent years. We also have a story here this morning that they're going to pull out of the race for Harry Maguire because Leicester City started to evaluate him at over 100 million quid, wow. Which is hilarious, really, that teams are winding Manchester United up in such a manner. So Crystal Palace did their best to stir the pot here and to make Edward Ward pull out as much hair as he possibly had left on his scalp during this transfer negotiation, and they've eventually got it over the line. It's a long, hard slog if Manchester United want to sign any high-profile name, so I'm sure they're happy they've got Wan-Bissaka on. So that brings to two their summer signings now.
And then there's Kevin McManaman was out doing stuff for AIG, it looks like yesterday. Kevin, dubbed cash critics using it as bait to wind us up. I just smile back. Kevin McManaman believes talk around Dublin's financial riches is bait to wind us up. I guess if you're involved in the team, you've got to try and make sense of the narrative that you're playing the best football that anybody has played, you're the best team that anybody's ever seen, and you ain't getting no credit for it, really. You're getting, like, everybody's assuming that it's because you've had better access to finance than everybody else. Which, you know, in GAA terms, it's like, you can't, we didn't even buy the best players. Okay, so we've got the best coaches, the best backroom team, the best facilities.
Mm-hmm. Which help cultivate a culture that allow you to become the best players you can possibly be. And when you have an incredible bunch of players like that, it does help them become one of the best teams of all time, which they are consistently described as. And the more time goes by, the best team of all time. So I think I'm not sure if this whole argument about they don't get the credit they deserve actually stacks up. That is the lead naturally on the back of the Herald as well. Money talk is used as bait to wind up the Dubs. It's Kevin McManaman as well speaking at that AIG gig yesterday. Also there, a Champions All-Ireland bid not helped by Leinster demise. If you want to look at one negative from Dublin's campaign so far, is that all their games have been so easy. How can you possibly give any of them All-Stars?
Oh yeah, I mean the Super 8s and the semi-final and final, and like, yeah, I don't know. It is difficult because some of them don't get the All-Stars or Footballer of the Year titles that they deserve.
Yeah, Frank Roach is saying that in their All-Ireland winning years they won 6, 6, 7, 6, 7 and 7. So that's 2011 to 2018 with the exception of 2014. Contrast this with Donegal, whose only Sam Maguire's success of this era was recognised by the award of 8 All-Stars in 2012, not counting or anything. Also they could, but like, to be fair, what's the one difference here? The provincial championship that Donegal would have competed in would have been a much tougher. So there's probably truth in what Frank Roach is saying here. He's also saying that Tyrone men were honoured 8 of them in 2005, despite being forced to 2 replays in Ulster. So
you get more the more games you play. That's how that works. Being forced to replays gives you more opportunity to play well in big games, which is, let's face it, what the All-Star selectors are watching. Because they're not at every game, they don't get footage of every game. So
there's probably also the idea of the anomaly of the once-in-a-while winner. So that would have been Donegal in 2012, where they're like, oh, Carl Lacey is an All-Star because he's playing 10 times better than we've seen him play before, whereas Paul Mannion is still Paul Mannion. Yeah,
the base standard they're coming from. It's a fair point. 6-1 to United, 80 grand a week deal is longest in club's history. Aaron Wan-Bissaka signed a 6-year, 25 million deal with Manchester United, the longest ever contract given to a player at Old Trafford. However,
wonder,
has anybody else ever got a contract that size? I'm
really struggling to think. 6 years.
At Manchester United.
They
wouldn't be stupid enough to give anybody a 6-year contract.
I wish that the Wan-Bissaka thing happened in the manner that the David Moyes 6-year contract happened, with Antonio Valencia addressing the crowd. It's your job now to get behind the new right back.
To back our new manager. And is this a piece that I'm stepping on for later on?
No, not at all. It was just looking at it, a headline that is particularly poignant this week.
When did Alex Ferguson retire? 6 years ago.
6 years ago. And
did they get in?
David Moyes.
How long contract did they get him?
6 years. David Moyes has 6 years to make his mark at Manchester United. Reads the headline in The Guardian 6 years ago. This week, actually, is when the contract will have expired.
When they stopped paying him?
Yeah.
Pretty sure they've been paying him ever since.
Oh, have they? On a consistent basis, they didn't just pay him off in one go?
Yeah. Potters get their just reward, so Stoke City have completed the signing of Stephen Warden, a 1-year deal. Released by Burnley at the end of the season, he's now put pen to paper with the Potters after going on trial at the Championship outfit, so he's staying in football.
The back page of the Irish Daily Mail is grin and win. Kelly stars as Ireland make it 6 medals, and it's a wind-up. McManaman says Dubs rivals using cash jibes as bait and no special treatment for Murray. Andy Murray's much anticipated return to Wimbledon next week looks set to take place away from centre court despite his enormous interest.
Yeah, it's day 1 of the Derby Festival at the Curragh, and so the Racing Post are leading with that this morning. On the back of it is Roarsome Lionesses possess the firepower to rise to the occasion. So it's a World Cup quarter-final day. Norway against England tonight at 8 o'clock is the game.
Yeah, it should be good. Back page of the Irish Daily Star is Diarmid knockout blow. O'Connor out for the season as Mayo face injury crisis. One in, one that got away, says Jeremy Cross. So this is the story that I mentioned earlier on, that Manchester United have pulled out of the race to sign Harry Maguire because it would have cost them a world record €110 million. I really just can't get over, like, it's the negotiating tactic here, the brazen negotiating tactic from Leicester City. I guess it's one way to do it, to hold on to a player, to just slap 110 million quid on Harry Maguire. It's just remarkable. There's also quotes here from Liam Griffin, who's outraged at the 2-game ban on Aidan Nolan, which is kind of a bit ridiculous. He got a 2-game ban because it was a repeat offence. The first offence was at the Fenway Classic.
I mean, that is insane, isn't it?
It's absolutely. It's not even the same sport.
That's very unfair. Here we go. So, Sports Thursday. Mullen ready to take on the role of Kilkenny sharpshooter. This is the Times. This is Kilkenny's Adrian Mullen, who is responsible for 12% of Kilkenny's scores from play. TJ Reid has a quarter of all of Kilkenny's scores from play, as well as all the free takes as well. So TJ had a quite enough game against Wexford, and Adrian Mullen stepped up. A very low-key build-up to the Leinster hurling final. As in, no one's spoken about it once because everybody's completely focused on Tip and Limerick. Completely of the idea that not only is this a Munster final we're watching on Sunday, but we're watching the All-Ireland final on Sunday, according to some people. So therefore, the game that actually the Munster final is a curtain raiser for on our television screens is largely irrelevant. But really, there's a lot of people who've made the counterpoint that actually there is going to be a twist here somewhere. That twist may come from Cork, that twist may even come from Dublin, but the likelihood is that the twist may come from somebody like Kilkenny. There is a kick in the side somewhere. It also helps when you got the best player in the country on your team. That tends to do good things for your hurling team. Yeah. And if anybody else can step up around it. Well, that's the thing, and that's the kind of thrust of that piece there. If there's a good supporting cast, just a good supporting cast is all they need. Kilkenny will be able to put up huge numbers. The front page of the Irish Examiner sports section goes with the Munster final. 3 strikes, lost to Tip, would end back-to-back hopes, warns former Limerick hero McDonough. Cash not king. McManaman says Dublin success nothing to do with money. Creative licence then. Carberry will relish freedom. Larkin gives flair players. And Tommy Martin saying Big Brother. He fears VAR is becoming a terrifying, all-seeing eye. He quotes Megan Rapinoe in the piece, saying that she wanted it to be the tournament to be a complete circus in kind of a good way, as in the things that people talk about when it comes to sporting events are always the crazy things. If people want to start talking about the Sport Cup a bit more, then crazy things are going to start happening. And VAR has provided that. VAR has got people talking about the World Cup, and not necessarily in a negative way. It's kind of negative towards VAR. And once your eyes are gazing on that, you're kind of looking, actually, this World Cup has been really good. Yeah, so VAR and Cameroon have been really good for the tournament. The USA scoring 13 goals. Really good for the tournament. In a strange way. Not really, that strange. Like it creates this massive argument. Well, 13-0 shouldn't be good for any sporting tournament. On face value, it just simply should not be good for the tournament, but it actually kind of has been, and it actually is kind of showing the rootlessness that exists in this USA team. And if you identify a quality in the team, you get to know that team a bit better. An excellent point, right? In retrospect, if you're Dublin, do you allow me to score 3 crappy goals in the second half and go, oh, wasn't that farther? Oh, a little bit luckier. They could have been right on their coattails. Oh, poor me. As opposed to just crushing them, breaking their spirit, and laying bare for the whole world to see, look at my works, ye mighty in despair. I am King of Kings. And then to finish off that I'm King of Kings speech, we were all volunteers. Nothing to do with the money. Neither a strong opposition. We knew it would be a tough test. In retrospect, in the second half, after they get to like 1:15 or whatever it is, the strict instructions go out. No goals, fist your points, and I'm sorry, Dean, you can't go on because you're too good. you're like a grown man, and those little boys out there will not be able to get the ball off you. Sorry, Dean. I mean, we're putting on the kids. It's put on Evan Comerford at full forward. Just the Jim Gavin turning to a sub, and the sub was like, too wrecked from playing the primary game at half time. So, the back page of The Guardian today is some like it hot, Neville's England at ease in French furnace. I don't know, are England going to win a World Cup? Would it be the women who? That would be That would be crack, wouldn't it? England rocked by virus. Ooh. Centre backs. Her name's Houghton. Name's Houghton. Whatever she wants to call it.
I go Houghton.
We should be getting English names wrong now, shouldn't we?
100%.
Like Kinsella, Kavanagh, how do they? Whatever, Kavanagh. Centre backs Houghton and De Bright in fitness race after squad is hit by bug. And they're talking about the cricket because England are a bit screwed if they get beaten again. And Conte left undercooked. British number 1 suffered a shock defeat before Wimbledon 2 weeks ago. Conte was on the front page of the sports section, like with a massive win, and then suddenly, so I've no doubt they'll find out that she's Scottish or Welsh or Northern Irish fairly soon in the Telegraph.
Australian. I think that's where she's from. The London Times goes with World Cup mind coach to join City. Manchester City recruiting England's Cricket World Cup team psychologist to work with Pep next season. This is David Young, and he's been working with the cricket side. And Neville waits to rule on injured stars, so he's going to wait until the last possible moment before announcing his team for tonight's quarter-final.
The Irish Independent this morning. McManaman player should get a few bob for promotions. Dublin Ace rejects claims of $6,000 fees, but insists payments are fair game. This is the source of the $6,000 fee story was indeed the Irish Independent. So, an Irish Independent report earlier this month revealed that the Dubs' earning power had soared to new levels with as much as $6,000 for a single appearance, depending on the player and the company involved. McManaman was flabbergasted by such suggestions and is adamant that it is not accurate, although he does believe players should get a few bob in return for the time. So the first time a Dublin player had the opportunity to correct the Irish Independent story, they've taken the opportunity to do so and suggested that those figures were, in fact, wildly inflated. I don't know where they came up with those figures because I've never seen anything like that, so I don't know where it came from. Saying that, people are getting $6,000 to go and give medals out. That's not true, he said. If lads give up their time and they do whatever it is, it's fair game, but I don't know where lads are getting figures from, to be honest. If people give up their time and they're training as much as they are, they're going out and they're doing a sponsorship thing, all well and good, they get a few bob, but I haven't personally seen figures like that. So fair play to Kevin McManaman for putting that story straight, because it did seem like it was a complete nonsense to me. Toner rejects calls for review of Leinster's club culture. Leinster and Ireland lock Devin Toner insists that he and his teammates are well aware of what is expected of them on and off the pitch, and that an internal review into the club's culture is not necessary. I mean, is it necessary when there are a couple of incidents in the space of just a couple of days? Toner is one of the most experienced members of the Leinster squad and is adamant that an internal review into the club's culture does not need to take place. No, not yet. When asked if the leadership group had addressed the issues, everyone knows what's going on, everyone knows what standards we hold ourselves to and what we should be able to hold ourselves to. I don't think there's a need to review anything, to be honest. It is a player-driven thing. So that is the back of the Independent. And apparently Newcastle are interested in Patrick Vieira and Steven Gerrard, perhaps together, to be their new manager.
Be quite the team, wouldn't it? I see they're interested in poaching Eddie Howe from Bournemouth, which would be career suicide from Eddie Howe's perspective. Saying, yeah, I'm going to leave this club, which has done okay over the last few years. It's actually had a structure that's allowed it to rise through the divisions and get me to the Premier League. Mike Ashley over there wants me. Actually, yeah, do you know what, Bournemouth? I'm going to go. Now, the thing is, the sale of Newcastle could change everything. If Mike Ashley manages to get the club off his hands, if there are owners that look trustworthy, because all football owners do, then a football manager who might actually be interested in some sort of success may actually come on board. People who are currently interested in success, look at Newcastle and say, not a chance what happened there.
The track record of the manager in situ from the previous regime, when new owners come in, is short and bloody. They do not get a long time to put their own stamp on proceedings. The new manager comes in, the new owner comes in and is like, I've just spent whatever it is, 100 million, say, ultimately when everything is taken into account, and probably much more in some instances, hundreds of millions or potentially billions if you're buying Man United. Do you want the existing manager who's like, or do you want your own guy in?
But you want your own guy in.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you may bring your own guy in and that guy is not the guy. So, like, does this thing happen? Like, this sale ideally needs to happen ASAP, and then for a manager to come in, not the cart before the horse.
Yeah, totally.
So, I don't know, like...
Sean Dyche has been linked?
Sean Dyche would be a fantastic appointment for Newcastle, wouldn't he? I think he'd be a brilliant appointment for Newcastle. I think what Newcastle need is somebody who is proven in the Premier League. They can't afford to take risks. They can't afford to just chance the arm with Patrick Vieira or with Mikel Arteta. As much as it looks like it's not chance the arm, because they're quite proven in backroom staffs and with underage teams.
Sean Dyche is going to get you to play a particular brand of football, which I'm not sure is the Newcastle way, and he will also, flip between 12th and 18th.
That's fine for a couple of seasons. Then get rid of him. That's how football management works. Like, if you're a new owner, you need something that is going to be consistent. You don't need any more turbulence, which is, we're going to experiment with all our money in a new club here, and let's also allow us to be the guinea pig for Patrick Vieira's managerial career.
But what if the new owners have enough money to buy Neymar, say?
Neymar being managed by Sean Dyche would be something that we would all like to see. How many games do you think it would be before Neymar throws the toys out of the pram, or just completely abandons any tactical instructions from the sideline?
Burnley want 10 million in compensation.
That is a huge sum, so that's not going to happen.
But if Sean Dyche is your guy, he's going to keep you in the Premier League, and Premier League status is worth 100 million, then your 10 million on the manager is actually, obviously that's just one transfer fee. You still have to pay him all the rest of the way. But I don't know, is it worth too much?
Not in that kind of very one-dimensional way, but it's not as if Sean Dyche is the only guy who can keep you in the Premier League. Like, as we mentioned, Eddie Howe is there as well. I don't think Eddie Howe would be very interested in actually jumping ship at this point and going to Newcastle United, unless, as you said, the new owners do manage to make some sort of promise that we do have spending power that can rival the top, I don't know, 8 perhaps, like if they go on a Wolves level of spending power perhaps, and with sensibilities that kind of show that they will actually go out and make the correct signings and have a good recruitment policy, then I think there would be something that Eddie Howe would be interested in. Like 10 million quid to save yourself in the Premier League. If you're given that guarantee, you obviously do it. But there may be cheaper alternatives.
Yeah, who?
Well, Eddie Howe.
But they're not going to get Eddie Howe, are they?
Well, you could, okay, so who would be your number one target? If you buy Newcastle right now, what is the first thing you do? You obviously appoint a manager. Who are you ringing?
Hello, is that Rafa? Is that Rafa Benitez? I hear you're at a bit of a loose end, and you might still have a gaff up here. Could we maybe have a little bit of a chat?
I've changed, Rafa. I'm a different person to the person you got to know.
Literally a different person.
God, you sound very like Mike there. But to be fair, like, where does the kind of dominoes stop falling after Rafa gets his next job? Like, where does he go? Who is the manager that suffers? If he goes to Arsenal, does Unai Emery become free?
I don't know. He's going to
swap jobs.
He's going to take the job in China for twice the money that he's getting in Newcastle. Stay there a year, take the money and run.
Rafa Benitez is not a China guy.
I don't think he is.
He's not a China guy. If you're managing Newcastle and you put yourself through that amount of suffering for the past couple of years, you're not a China guy.
And the outcome is that you've got an amazing reputation on the back of it. That you went into that basket case, stabilised it, got the team to play football, and got new players and young players through that system who have gone on to be much greater valued than they were when you got them. It's exactly what you want from a manager at any club in England.
Also, the China thing as a manager now isn't the thing. The thing you want is the Qatar job. Like, that is the most lucrative job in...
Is that going to happen?
In world football.
The World Cup going to happen in Qatar?
Well, it would be funny if you actually did take the Qatar job and then they're like, actually, sorry, by the way, we're not hosting the World Cup anymore.
It's going to be in Mexico now.
Yeah, we no longer have a football team. So thank you for your service, Rafa. You can go back to the Premier League. So I don't know. Yeah, he's got an amazing reputation. Why put in all that groundwork in Newcastle like he's done over the past couple of years for nothing? Like, his reputation has come out of this enhanced, which is remarkable, really. And there are plenty of clubs in Spain, I'd imagine, who would take him as well. Major League
Soccer is back in the States, and Bobby Firmino, who is actually at Danny O'Connor 888 on Twitter, has been in touch to say, I was at Toronto versus Atlanta last night, and VAR awarded 3 penalties, one of which was given after the referee blew the final whistle. Even with a huge screen, we were shown nothing. VAR will ruin football. I think it absolutely has the potential to ruin games, right? It does. If you're at a match and the final whistle goes, and then next thing the players are like, oh, hang on a second now. Oh, it's a penalty to you guys, and no communication with the entire crowd. That's not a good look.
No, it's not. Like, the picking and choosing of VAR instances is obviously what they've tried to do, and I see Kalina's in the newspapers this morning saying that the Premier League should be using VAR for goalkeepers moving off their line, but really it's ridiculous. The way that is completely... It's really held up games in the World Cup this summer has been pretty annoying. Like, what is the huge advantageous difference between being a little bit off the line or being on your line, something that you can't see to the naked eye in real time? I don't think it's that big, and I don't think it's worth that stoppage. Getting a big penalty decision in a big game, right or wrong, I think is worth the delay in VAR. So you can pick and choose your moments. The whole widespread use of it's probably gone a little bit too far.
Yeah, no, for sure. A reminder about an amazing event that we have upcoming. Off the Ball, in partnership with My Taxi, is hosting a very special event on the 4th of July in the Alex Hotel, and you can be there if you'd like. Guests on the night will include Irish legend Paul McGrath, former Irish international Jamie Heaslip, performance coach for the Dublin hurlers Cian O'Connor, and former world champion boxer Andy Lee. Owen Sheahan is presenting, it says here. It's going to be a good night.
Does it say that?
It does, yeah.
Well, thanks a million.
Maybe get your questions ready for Paul McGrath, Jamie Heaslip, Cian O'Connor and Andy Lee.
All done.
What are you going to ask them?
That's a good question. That is like revealing your cards before the magic trick, and or revealing the trick. It's going to be good. It's a great combination of guests, and obviously coming from very different backgrounds, currently doing very different things. People who played against and fought, in Andy's case, some unbelievable talents as well. So there's a lot of common threads there. It's going to be interesting.
This is an exclusive off-air event, so the only way you can see it is by being there. Tickets are free, but you've got to register and show proof on the day, either by printing your tickets or having them downloaded onto your smartphone. You can check out offtheball.com/events to get your ticket to the event with our partners. My Taxi Business, soon to become Free Now Business. You can register today for a free business account. Yeah, okay. What else have you got for us in the paper
We've
today?
got one video we wanted to play because we were talking about the MLS, and when people mention the MLS, I tend to just go through Evolve and see what's good in American soccer right now. And Grant Wall, the reputable US soccer journalist, reminded us of the 10-year anniversary yesterday of the most bizarre press conference I've ever seen in football, in possibly world sport. You'll probably know that today or this week was the 10-year anniversary of the death of a certain someone. Have a look at this.
I'm going to make you a question, Donovan, not about the game, but about the moment that US is now crossing, the fact that Michael Jackson is dead. And you're too young for this. I'd like to know from your team what the impact does Michael Jackson's death has in the team, and if you are going to try to pay tribute tomorrow when playing Brazil to Michael Jackson.
I was probably a little too young to fully embrace the height of the Michael Jackson era. Most of us were, but we obviously understand how big of a star he was and what a great entertainer he was. As far as tomorrow goes, I want to win the game. And if, I don't know if someone will pay tribute or do anything, but obviously we're not taking away from who he was as a man, but we're here to win the game, and we have a lot of respect for Michael Jackson, but we want to win the game tomorrow.
If you win tomorrow's game, how go to celebrate whereas many people are busy mourning the death of Michael Jackson at home?
I think Landon did a very good job in the last question. I'm older, so I remember more of the major.
We're going to cut across Bob Bradley here because I don't think anybody is interested in Bob Bradley, but I certainly want to get a...
Was Bob about to say, I'm a huge fan?
Yeah, well...
What a great man.
I kind of forgotten that Landon Donovan was like, we respect the man that Michael Jackson was there in the clip, so not great. 10 years ago, how can you possibly celebrate a result when everybody back home is mourning Michael Jackson? Is one of the great press conference questions, to be quite honest with you. Hopefully one of us will get to that level one day. Okay. That was before the Confederations Cup.
I was going to say, so
2009.
Back when America had a team.
Back when America had a team. Back when they were pretty good. Back when there was a couple of them filtering around. Like, back when at the time when it was like, this is obviously the upward curve and the upward trajectory for American football, and they will come over here and dominate in years to come. Hasn't obviously happened. The only other football story that's kind of come to my attention this morning is Maurizio Sarri. There's been a great Football Italia piece done with a couple of tidbits on Maurizio Sarri, and he's talking about his smoking habit. How many cigarettes do you think he smokes a day? Because he asked me, Leo, 60. We know this, do we?
No.
Well, you bang on the money.
Am I?
He says it's. His response is it's 60.
I was being as outrageous as I possibly could. No one smokes 60 cigarettes a day.
Well, Maurizio Sarri smokes 60 cigarettes a day.
Rich man. So what is it, like 14 quid a pack, 15 quid a pack?
It's probably why he's moved back to Italy. It's cheaper than the UK. It's 60 a day. Probably a few too many, he says, which is probably accurate.
He looks like a 60-day man.
He certainly does.
That's not a tan he has. That's just tobacco beaten skin.
I don't particularly feel the need to smoke during games, he says, but straight afterwards it really is necessary. I had back problems tormenting me for weeks, but I feel much better now. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. He's also spoken about his dog called Chiro. He was adopted 3 years ago after he kept hanging around the Napoli training ground. So Sarri just adopted him. He came to Castel Volturno every day and became the team mascot. And then according to La Gazzetta dello Sport, Sarri had hired a dog sitter for Chiro in London and only accepted a private jet to Turin for the Juventus paperwork because he could bring his canine friend along. So there you go. Loves the cigarettes and loves Chiro.
There you go. Okay, it is 4 minutes past 8. You're watching OTB AM, or maybe you're listening to us on OTB Sports Radio, which is at offtheball.com/radio. Coming up this hour, we've got the Shot Clock with Kieran Donaghy, James Sugrue and Paddy Tally are going to talk to us as well. Next, we're with Daniel Harris. First, though, I want you to have a look at this. It's the latest episode of Off the Brawl. The lads got talking about Eoin's favourite show, Love Island, and they considered what effect this exposure might have on Tommy Fury's boxing career, let alone his boxing family.
Phil has a strong Twitter game as well.
Yeah, but I don't have, mine's mainly football.
Phil Egan's sport. You get very little other than sport off Phil Egan's Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not really, I wouldn't have much to say about Love Island. I've seen a bit of it. I mean, obviously I'm watching it from a boxing point of view to see what Tommy Fury's like.
His technique on the flip-flops.
Yeah, that's it. But he's, one thing, his profile is going to go up big time.
Yeah.
You know, you can imagine when he gets out, he'll have a fight and all the Love Island contestants will be ringside.
You actually saw, I saw there, Hughie Fury had a fight confirmed for the Amir Khan show in Saudi Arabia, and it was Tommy Fury's cousin, Hughie Fury. He was the former world title challenger.
Until Tyson Fury gets those belts back, Tommy Fury's brother Tyson becomes world champion again.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online, and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our brand new field sport covered pitches. Find out more on nationalsportscampus.ie.
Okay, Daniel Harris is with us this morning. Daniel, good morning to you. So a deal was finally done for Wan-Bissaka yesterday, but notwithstanding that, it's been a slightly disappointing off-season so far from a Man United perspective. Marks out of 10 so far for how the Woodward administration is doing at the moment?
It's kind of hard to know because you don't know exactly what else is going on. I think having 2 players signed by the end of June isn't bad, and whether or not you're happy with them is contingent on how they end up playing. So don't get too agitated about who teams have and haven't signed, and don't get too agitated about what they're going to do until you actually see what happens, because you've seen players you thought would be good be rubbish, and players you thought would be rubbish be good. So it's okay so far. I'm not too perturbed.
There's been too many of the players you thought who would be good be rubbish over the last number of seasons at Manchester United. Unfortunately, I don't know if Alexis Sanchez was the immediate one you were thinking of there, but still at the club, Alexis Sanchez, Paul Pogba, Lukaku and everybody else who was there and was responsible for the on-the-field performances last season. I mean, are you disappointed that some of those players haven't been shipped out yet somehow?
It takes time. I think there have also been a lot of players over the last period who you thought would be rubbish and have been rubbish. I think that Lukaku will go, but it's not really. I don't think that one's on United. That's about Inter finding the money to pay for him, and the club's then working out a deal. So I think Lukaku will probably go. I think Pogba will probably go as well. And in a way, there's more urgency to get rid of Pogba, just because if you do, then that's a lot of money freed up. So if you were to get rid of Pogba, then you'd have the Pogba money plus the budget, and that is really enough to buy half a team. So they probably should get that one done as soon as possible if they can, except there aren't that many people that can afford Pogba. Real Madrid are one of them, and they've spent 400 million quid already. So they probably don't have any readies left, and actually you can see them starting to get rid of various relatively cheap players, like they got rid of Kovacic at Chelsea yesterday, and hopefully that money will be what they buy Pogba with.
How do you think Manchester United are going to survive without the Instagram influence that Paul Pogba had for the club? I mean, we spoke about that a couple of years ago, that this was the first sort of social media signing for a football club, Paul Pogba. And now, in kind of hindsight, it's like that wasn't actually the most ridiculous notion in the world, that it was a commercial before footballing signing. Do you think that's playing on their mind at all at any point, or has the footballing failures just completely overpowered that?
I wouldn't say that he was just a social media signing, because I mean United bought him because he's a high level player with amazing ability. And for me as a supporter or as a football writer, what Pogba does on social media is not really that significant. Like, I might look at something and sigh in a your dad way, or I might think seems like a bit of an idiot, but I don't really rate his contribution to United according to what he does or doesn't do on social media. He's a brilliant talent, but United is not, for whatever reason, the right place for him currently. And I think United, unfortunately, would be better off without him. But because he doesn't want to be there, and if a player doesn't want to be at a club, then in general, it's better for the club not to have the player. And the thing with Pogba is that I will always wonder, and if he goes somewhere like Real Madrid, I guess we'll see it, if it's possible to have a really high-level team and to balance it properly if it has Pogba in it. Because he's a midfield player who basically does the running of a number 10 without a number 10's numbers. And that's a problem. If you look at people that have played in that position for United before, say Wayne Rooney's numbers were miles better than Paul Pogba's. And even when he was having one of his nightmares, and he had the greatest nightmares of any player I've ever seen, you never forgot that he was playing because he'd still put a shift in. And the thing with Pogba is you don't get so much of that. So you're effectively waiting for a moment when he may or may not do something. And in a team like United, where there aren't great players around him to get him the ball, that's a problem. So I can see that the money for Pogba, even though Pogba is the best player in United's squad by miles, the money for Pogba would be better invested in two players that would elevate the level of the team. As for Sanchez, it just hasn't worked. And even though he's now doing it for Chile, I'm sure that United would get rid of him if they could find someone who would pay the money. And I'm sure that Woodward would regret loss of star power. And unfortunately, that is something that is significant, because what happens is you have a team, and especially United, you have a load of advertisers, Mr. Potato Head, whoever it might be, Tampax, whatever it is. And when you sell advertising and sponsorship to those clubs, what you're selling also the services of the players for an amount of time every year, where they'll be part of your advert or do a meet and greet or whatever it might be. And before, like in the dying embers of the Fergie era, and then subsequently, basically the only star at United was Wayne Rooney. So every sponsor would come to United and say, "Can we have Wayne Rooney for whatever it is?" And Pogba was in some ways meant to inherit that mantle, and did inherit that mantle. So if you were to lose Pogba and you were to lose Sanchez, then you don't have many recognisable faces. And although there might be players like Scott McTominay and Victor Lindelof and Aaron Wan-Bissaka even, who are more committed to the cause and delivering more to the team, that's not helpful for sponsors and the money that keeps United ticking over. So there are competing interests here, but in theory, United have generally been a club that makes stars rather than buys stars, with a few exceptions, but not that many.
We've seen 100 players linked with Manchester United over the transfer window so far. Are there any names that have stood out to you that you think, yeah, that's exactly the type of player that we need to transform the fortunes of the side at the moment? Like Harry Maguire, when you're seeing the pursuit of Harry Maguire go the way it has, what are you thinking?
Well, I think that's interesting what you say about transformative, because United do need transformative players, but they're not in a position to go and buy a player who you know right now will be transformative. They can't go and buy the best players in the world, because the best players in the world are busy doing better things. Even someone like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who I think is an excellent signing. If you just said to me, United are going to buy a right back, who do you think it should be? I would have said him. But he's not going to transform things because he's a right back. So Harry Maguire is another one. The money, as far as I can see it, the money touted for Harry Maguire is absurd. £80 million for Harry Maguire. There is no way that you couldn't find a better centre-back than Harry Maguire for half that money. And it's not really about the price, in that United are rich. United have a lot of money. United can afford to pay Harry Maguire, to buy Harry Maguire. But if you're paying £80 million for a centre-back, there should be the best centre-back in the world. And Harry Maguire isn't the best centre-back in the world, and it doesn't matter how much he improves, he's never going to be able to run fast or turn quickly. And those things will always get found out in the end, whoever you play for. And if you look at what's happened to Pep Guardiola, the reason why he hasn't won the Champions League, apart from with the greatest midfield ever and Messi, is because of this defending situation. Even at Barcelona, he had slow defenders. He had Mascherano at the back. And the reason why he got away with it at Barcelona was because he couldn't get the ball. When he went to Bayern Munich, he put Javi Martinez there. You couldn't get the ball most of the time, but you could get it enough to trouble that defence. Then he goes to City, and you look at what happened at City. And they conceded, 4 goals over 2 legs to Tottenham? Before Spurs scored the first goal in the first leg, Son had, I think, 7 consecutive touches in the City penalty area. You can't win the European Cup, generally, if your defence is going to do that. And I've been told that Maguire's going to City. And I see why Pep Guardiola likes him. He's really good on the ball. He can pass the ball out. And not only that, he can bring it forward. But I think that eventually he's going to get put in a race with someone who can run faster than him. And at City, it's not going to happen that often because City have so much of the ball. But at United, it's going to happen a lot more. And if you go and put a centre-back like Harry Maguire next to a centre-back like Victor Lindelof, then you've got 2 centre-backs that don't have any recovery pace. And actually, I'm not worried that United are going to sign Harry Maguire because I think he's going to go to City, but I'm worried that United think that would be a suitable signing. So I'm sure that they can find a better centre-back out there for half the money. I don't trust them to find one, but I'm absolutely not having that there isn't one. And the transformative signings that United can make and should make need to be in midfield, because what we saw with United was that they couldn't dominate possession against even mid-ranking Premier League teams. And that means that however talented your attackers are, you're giving them very little to work with. You're not giving them much of the ball, and you're not giving them high-quality ball, and that's a problem. So I haven't seen enough of Sean Longstaff, and I do think United have an interest in him to know that, to be sure that he's the player that they want. But I do know that he is a passer who people compare to Michael Carrick, and he has an engine. And that kind of player is the kind of player that United are looking for. I don't know if it's him, but I guess it's more reassuring that they're looking for someone with that kind of skill description, because that's the kind of thing that's required, I think.
David Ornstein of the BBC was reporting that the only offer on Matthijs de Ligt's table at the moment is from Manchester United, but his player, the agent is reporting that his player doesn't want to go to Manchester United, which isn't that surprising, but it is surprising that Manchester United may be the only offer on the table for him.
I guess you don't always get offers made until clubs are sure that they can sign a player, because you don't want it to appear like that the player decided not to sign for them. But yeah, of course, there's no reason whatsoever for Matthijs de Ligt to sign for United unless they were paying him so much more money than anyone else that he felt like he had to take it, and that seems unlikely, or he happened to really want to play for United. And there are loads of reasons why you would really want to play for United, but then there are loads of reasons why you'd want to play for Barcelona. I think it's possible, and the only reason I can think of that he would sign for United is that he fancied playing in the Premier League and he fancied another move slightly later on. It doesn't seem to me to be that much of a laugh to go and play in Serie A if you want to compete in a serious competition, because Juventus just win it every season and it's nice for your trophy cabinet, but it's not that nice for competitiveness. And even when United were really good and winning leagues every season, had United won the league every single season, it would have been amusing more than it would have been a buzz, because if there's no competition, then what's the buzz? And if I think about the greatest leagues that I've seen United win, the ones that have given me the most pleasure, it's pretty much the ones that come a season after you haven't won the league. So 93, 96, 2003, 99, 2007, 2013, when you have a league, you're in a race the season before, you lose it, and then you come back. That's much more of a buzz. That's much more life enhancing than just season after season after season. So if Matthijs de Ligt were to fancy that, then I could see him signing for United. But it seems unlikely that that's going to happen. And what I guess he'll do is he'll end up at Juventus, and then in a couple of years he'll end up in Spain.
Just a final point for me, Daniel. Over the past 5 years or so, the funniest jokes being made on the internet is there's 5 years left on David Moyes' contract, or there's 4 years left on David Moyes' contract. This week, that joke is no longer applicable. What are you going to do with yourself?
With no David Moyes, I don't know. I mean, thinking back, it was so mad at the time that it hasn't got any the less mad with time. That if you think about what Alex Ferguson had to do to get the Man United job, he had to smash the old firm in Scotland, he had to win a European trophy with Aberdeen, and when he got the job at United were rubbish. Whereas David Moyes had to do none of those things, and he got the job at United when United were champions. And there was nothing to suggest that he would be capable of doing that job, other than Fergie said that he thought that he was. And it's very hard not to impute a conscious or subconscious motive in Fergie's mind for why he allowed that to happen. Because you could imagine, if he'd given it to Mourinho at the time, what happens if Mourinho comes in and he turns this team who absolutely smashed the league and he wins the European Cup he wins the European Cup twice in 5 seasons, when Fergie spent 20 seasons trying to win it twice. All of a sudden, it's like Fergie was never there. Mourinho's got this subsuming, consuming personality, and again, he suddenly would dominate the club. Whereas Moyes, when Moyes got the job, when Fergie called him up, Fergie didn't call him up and ask him if he wanted the job. Fergie called him up and told him that he was going to be the next manager of Manchester United. Like, there's a power relationship there. Similarly, when Fergie said to Moyes, "Come around to my house," Moyes went round to Fergie's house, not the other way around, and Moyes went home to get changed to put his suit on. And all those things indicate a power relationship between Moyes and Fergie, and of course that should be the power relationship, because Fergie's the man, and Moyes is not the man, to be generous, but it should suggest that is not the kind of person that you need to be managing Manchester United, and not the kind of person, if you're a player and you hear you've got this beloved manager. When Fergie first said he was retiring in 2002, there wasn't that big a deal, but the hold that he held over the players when he left was phenomenal, and not something that I think I properly realised the depth of until when he leaves and they do the lap of honour at Old Trafford in his last home game. Raphael is walking around in a T-shirt that he had made up that has a picture of him and Fergie on it together. Like, that is absolutely mad. Like, it's like that level of dependency, of love, let's call it, because that's what it is. To then think, oh my God, this guy's leaving, what are we going to do? And for the men to say, yeah, Moyes is coming in. Like, I can imagine as a player just putting my head in my hands, because as a supporter, as a football writer, I thought, what are they doing? And the fact that Moyes has known only misery and failure more or less since then, apart from a good 6 months at West Ham when he saved them, is indicative of the fact that he was entirely the wrong bloke, and everything he said about that job since he left tells you that he was the wrong bloke. Yeah. That it wasn't his fault, he didn't have the money, and he didn't have the money, and the Glazers are scum. But to take the champions, who did have problems, they did lack a bit of pace up front, they did lack pace at the back, they were ageing, they were tiring, but to do what he did with them, to haul them down so sharply, it's quite an enormous achievement, really. Yeah. So, he's given us a lot of comedy over the years since then, and also some tragic comedy.
Daniel, good stuff. Thanks for joining us this morning.
All right, see you again.
Daniel Harris giving us some thoughts on Man United. Shot clock is next. Although he may no longer play exclusively as a forward, when it comes to clutch players, Billy Joe Patton knows which Donegal man, aka the GAA's LeBron, he'd turn to.
I'm going to go for the tried and trusted, and I think Michael has made one massive oversight. I think that while it's all ahead of Conor Cox and Rian O'Neill and Jamie Brennan, and I expect them to do very, very big things, I'm going to overlook them at the minute and go for Paul Mannion because of what he's done for Dublin, and he's still a seriously dangerous prospect in Croke Park. I also think that David Clifford he's a generational type talent, and the things that he's going to do, has done so far and will continue to do, are exceptional. But if we're asking of one player that you just would want in the last minute of a game, a point down, it has to be Michael Murphy. He's one of the greatest of all time, and I know he plays out the field. I was
going to say, are we talking midfielders here, or are we talking forwards? What are we talking?
If you had 5 minutes to go in a game, point down, who do you want? You want Michael Murphy because he can do anything. He can win a ball on the edge of the square, he can kick a 45, he can lamp one over from 55 yards, he can create something. He's the man I'd want when the chips are really down.
That's an interesting way of framing it. A very interesting way, because I hadn't looked at it in those terms. Like, he only scored a point the last day out for Donegal. So could Michael Murphy be scoring more?
Of course he could, but I think that what you see from Michael Murphy is this uber leadership where he does whatever needed for his team. And if he was totally out there looking at stats, he would demand that he plays full forward, and he'd come away with 5 or 6 or 7 points every game. But he understands, and that's why he's the greatest leader in the game at the minute. He understands that Donegal can be more successful with him out the field, taking all this attention from 2 or 3 defenders, and that leaves space for Jamie Brennan and Paddy McBrearty. And that's another reason why if you wanted to build your team around any player, it's a 22-year-old Michael Murphy you want to do it. And when you consider that, the stat I heard today is that Donegal have 10 Ulsters in their history, and he's led them to 5 of them.
Yeah.
And who knows what he'll do. He might get a couple more for them.
All right, it's time for this week's Shot Clock. It's where myself and Kieran Donaghy go through the big stories of the week. We get 2 minutes, a hooter sound. We keep talking. We probably break the rules more often than we're supposed to. But it's an
get tight on the 2 minutes, I think.
It's an opportunity for us here to parse the big stories of the week and to get some strong opinions aired on them. I'm going to start with a gentle introduction this week. We're starting by Chelsea, Maurizio Sarri. The era is over. Frank Lampard, the talks are nearly finished. The amount of money that Frank Lampard is getting paid is being leaked. You are a Chelsea fan, Kieran. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
I'll miss Sarri because I loved his story. I loved the journey that he went on. I loved that his style of play in his previous club was kind of famous. So I was like, good, we're going to get somebody that's going to come in and implement something and that we're going to stick by him. So I was all happy about that. The fact that he worked in a bank like myself and then went on to win the European Cup last year, I liked all that, and I wish we stuck with him. But look, as it goes, I think Lampard is a good fit right now because we know we can't spend in the transfer window. We can't. He's a hero at the club, obviously. There's no real pressure on him. He'll get a break from the fans because what's the expectation of Chelsea next year? We're not going to win the league. You look now, it's Man City, Liverpool, and then there's everybody else. So there's no real pressure. He's lost his best player. So I think if there's time to bring in someone like a Lampard, probably with a Jody Morris who's come in, who was with Chelsea underage all the way, so he'll know all them young players. He'll know the 40 players that are out on loan. The Batshuayis, the Babiokos, the previous manager didn't get anything out of them, but maybe Frank will. He might see a different avenue for these guys. So I think you bring all them guys back. You bring back Tammy Abraham from Villa. You see what you can get out of him. And I think Lampard, with a bit of time, might be able to kind of make his influence in that Chelsea team. And he obviously gets on well with Abramovich, and he knows that the worst case scenario is he's not going to do great and get fired.
I think the most important thing there is the getting on well with Abramovich, because if you don't, and you're a new manager and you come in with a big reputation, like Sarri did come in with a big reputation, and you don't immediately win the players over, then the countdown starts straight away. With Lampard, if there are players who you don't win over, you can burn them out, and Abramovich is going to have your back because you've delivered for Abramovich from the get-go, from the very start. You're the link with when Abramovich was at his very happiest at Chelsea, when he was just coming in, spending his money and disrupting the entire league.
And I think he felt the pressure, Sarri. I think he didn't jump ship, but I think he very much kind of didn't feel that love and support last year from a lot of the fans in the stadium, let's call a spade, and maybe Mr. Abramovich. And then the Juve job was opening up, and I'd say he kind of pushed his way out. And you can't blame him because he probably knew
he was getting fired anyway.
He was going to probably get fired,
totally, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, Chelsea have had Mohamed Salah on their books and not really known what they had. They had Kevin De Bruyne on their books and not really knowing what they had. So there's a good chance that there is somebody at that level that they already have and is not getting a look in because various managers have churned through. So if Lampard is the right person and if he understands the club properly, and the word to Shea Given as well, part of this, that's a meteoric rise for Shea from
it's brilliant. I'm delighted.
Back a Dublin bus to Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. Next up is obviously the Kerry defence has taken a bit of flack and a bit of stick from the media side of it, and probably within their own setup as well because of the performance last week. I think it's slightly unfair on them because I think it's our setup, Jar. I think we're pushed up, we're going for the kill too early, we're letting guys out past us. Once they get out past us, they're going up through the middle of the field, and it's open sesame, and the backs are really kind of chasing shadows at that stage. And I think what we have to do is our forwards have to start pushing teams down the sideline, actually show them the sideline, give them the sideline, bait them into running down, very much like Dublin were doing against Meath the last day. They wouldn't go for the tackle. There was areas of the field where they did not go for the kill, to get pressure further out the field where they could go for the kill. Whereas I think we are so obsessed with trying to prove that, you know, we're tackling up front and we're working hard, that we're sometimes going for the kill and letting teams out past us, and I think that's struggling.
Okay, so explain that. It's not the tackle technique is wrong, it's that the person trying to affect the tackle is doing it in the wrong part of the pitch.
Yeah, it's the area of the field you're tackling in. So, you know, I think if you've got a corner back and you're a corner forward, your job is he's after getting a shot kick out. Oh, I have to go tackle him. I have to take it off him. So I run straight at him. But if he gets out past me, especially if he gets out past me this way, it opens everything up, because I'm dead man walking, and the full forward is going to have to get me, and then the full back is free, and then they're out, and all the forwards are doing all this mad work over and back.
And it's a chain reaction.
Correct. So if I go over to this corner back and I say to him, I'm going to stand literally level with you and give you the line and get in the foot race up the line with you, which is, you're using the sideline as your friend. You're using the fact that you have a cornerback running straight up the pitch, soloing the ball in the sideline. You take away his options up the line. So up the line, everybody's really tight. So when this cornerback is coming up the line, everybody's really tight. And on the other side of the field, you can drop in and you can switch. But what Kerry were doing the last day was going for the tackle to try and get the turnover, because they've obviously worked hard in their tackling, probably under Donny Buckley and Tommy Griffin. They've gone working at their tackling, so they want to show them guys all this training we've been doing over the last few months. So I feel like they win for the kill sometimes in the wrong area, and it's only a small little tweak. Okay, lads, where do we want to be actually setting up our tackle zone? And if this corner forward runs over and pushes that corner back all the way up the line, the full forward isn't working that hard. He's saving legs, he's saving energy. That's probably David Clifford or Paul Ganey. So that's great. You want them saving energy. So what you really have is you've one forward doing a lot of work, where the other few inside forwards are getting a bit of a break. Whereas what's happening now is I'm going for the kill, pass it across, full forward has to tackle, he goes out to the other corner, we all run over, then he gets reversed back over. If that happens 2 or 3 times, you've your whole full forward line out to the 45 after doing a rake of tackling, but not really getting any just reward for it. So I think it's only a small little tweak, but I think it's something we have to look at going forward.
Was the tackle technique good enough though? Because that was something that Aidan O'Rourke had pointed out as far back as the springtime, after the Mayo game in particular. He said that Mayo defenders were being tackled by Kerry lads, but they were brushing past the tackle. So that's a double whammy. The tackle technique isn't good enough, and you've tried to tackle too early in the pitch. So that all of a sudden it is that...
I think the tackle technique is massively improved, and your chances are massively improved if you're doing it in the right areas. You know, no matter how good of a tackler you are, if you run at a guy and he's after soloing the ball as he's coming to you, well, he's got 4 or 5 steps. If he's a small fella, 6 or 7 steps, a bounce, and another 6 or 7. Do you know what I mean? So no matter how good of a tackler you are, you can't do much with that.
Yeah.
It's timing. He's hopped it now, so he has to solo next, so I'm going to get a hand in now when he tries to solo, and I'm going to push him up the line. And that's just a small little tweak that I think Kerry could look at.
One other thing that he pointed out that day was that you can run straight at the heart of the Kerry defence, and you actually aren't going to meet anybody of significance. Is this where injury is causing difficulty for Kerry, or is that they just haven't got a defensive structure and style in place yet?
I think that's because teams are coming out the middle of the field. So when you're out the middle of the field, you can run at the heart of the defence, whereas if you're being pushed to the sideline all the time and you're guarding fellas, if I'm marking a guy in basketball and he's coming down the middle of the court, my first job is to try and get him out of the middle of the floor. Because if he's in the middle, it's very hard to defend. His options everywhere. Whereas if you get him going towards the sideline, that sideline now becomes your help. And it's easier, you know he can only go so many ways, whereas when a fella's coming straight at you in the middle, it's a hard one to stop.
But traditionally, the thing to do when a fella's coming straight at you in GAA is to stick your shoulder out and wait there and brace.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you shuffle people one side or the other? What's the, like...
They work in that. That's what I'm saying. You see, you can only shuffle someone towards the sideline if you're comfortable in the fact that your backroom staff or your manager has told you that, you know, because I think they feel like they have to tackle to try and prove that their tackling has been worked on, because they have worked on it, and we saw them very well set up in league games, but league is on wet ground, bad ground. This is now summertime, Parky Queeves, your Croke Park, your Fitzgerald stadiums. So this is where it becomes a bit harder to turn people over, especially on dry sunny days.
Yeah, because the pace is so intense for that as well.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the other big story in GAA land this week. This is Andy McEntee having a lash at the Meath Chronicle journalist. If anybody's missed this story, then where the hell have you been for the last 24 hours? But a quick recap. After the game in the huddle, the Meath Chronicle journalist asked Andy McEntee what the crack is with the hurlers and whether or not they're going to be released back to their clubs. Andy McEntee says that's a stupid effing question, I'm not going to answer it. And then afterwards, the Meath Chronicle players are at the bus talking to some of the Meath players, and he's chatting away to them, and Andy McEntee makes a point of coming over to say to him, I'll take the effing head off you if I effing see you near the dressing room again. Kieran, what needs to happen here?
It's petty, I think, really. The question, he's a Meath journalist, and maybe he's a selector or he's someone who's involved in some hurling team that he's going to ask that question. It's a bad timing for that question, Joe. I know, right, you're a journalist, that's fine. There's time and a place, I think, for that type of question. And do the whole media room, does he really need to find out right there and then after Meath manager who's after losing his Leinster final, can players play in a club hurling game next week? It's a bad question, it's bad timing of it. No, hear me out. I think it's bad question, it's bad timing. Could Andy McEntee have held his tongue and reacted better? Course. But he comes out and he sees the same guy that's asked that stupid question, which he thinks is a ridiculous question because he said that. Now he sees him talking to a few of his players. He's like, what questions is he asking these guys? Is he asking them about, can hurlers play? Are they going to give an answer that's going to get it? And them looking for an apology, and it even getting out that far. This should have been nipped in the bud straight away.
By who?
By Andy McEntee, probably.
By doing what?
Probably calling him and kind of afterwards and kind of having it out with him, like.
So that and that was the thing to do.
But it was reactionary though. It's like something hit you a box in a game.
But there's a big difference, right? So the reactionary one, I think everybody would have forgiven him because that came out in the papers, because that was in front of all of the media, and they're all like, look, I mean, okay, so that's fair enough. The second one isn't reactionary. The second one is like everybody's had showers, they've calmed down, they've got on the bus, and it's afterwards, and you make a point of going over to see somebody and going, and that's the bit it's like where you're not in control.
I know, but it's still reactionary from him even then. He's come out, he's open, I know what the story, you open that double doors out of the dressing room, you're after coming out, you're probably after trying to figure out what you're going to train Tuesday night, what we're going to do, let them out tonight, let them blow off a bit of steam, they'll need to, they're all that plans. Then he opens the door, he's the same guy. It's not like, there's your man. You asked a stupid question 15 minutes ago. You're fine now. It's bang, he sees him talking to the players. It's a bang, it's another reaction.
He is literally doing his job when he's talking to the players.
I know he's doing his job. But
and he's entitled to do his job.
But you can say that the manager's doing his job by protecting his players. We saw the famous Alex Ferguson one. Your man John Watson went at Roy Keane and Ferguson jumped down his throat because he was protecting his player. So, yeah, you're going to take it from the journalist side. I'm going to take it from... possibly, if I'm ever in that position, that I might handle it slightly better. But I can see at that moment in time, I can just sit there. If someone said that to me, will the Kerry hurlers be allowed playing? will fellas be able to play club football? Or that crossover question right there is was he looking for a reaction? Did he know that he'd strike a chord with McEntee? Did he know he'd get a reaction?
Apparently it's been an issue. Apparently this has been an issue that if you're going to go and play for there's suggestions that if you're going to go and play for the hurlers, then you won't really be welcome back in that in that Meath change room. So look, that's local GAA politics, right?
Yeah.
And if you're the manager of the inter-county team, you know this. And you've probably expected this question at some point. So you deal with that, and you've dealt with it badly. The second, when you're layering on the dealing with that and taking on somebody who has his microphone out because you can see it, or his recording device, he's talking to players. The audio of this exists somewhere.
I know.
And that's going to come out.
I know.
And I'm amazed the Meath Chronicle have not already put this out, because that would, I'm sure they're waiting for Andy McEntee to say, look, hands up, it was a stupid mistake. Won't happen again. Come down to training. We'll all be friends. I respect that you're doing a job. I have a job to do. It was tense. It was bad. I apologise. And that's it. That would have been the end of it. Instead, there's silence from Meath. And the story rumbles on, and we're all talking about it. It's in the papers again today.
Yeah.
Handle your business. Meath PRO, Meath County Board, handle your business. Tell Andy McEntee what to do. And Andy McEntee, handle your business.
Yeah.
Because I think After Tyrone last year, right? When he completely lost the head.
Again, but he's obviously a very fiery character. We're talking about taking characters out of the game. No, we don't want all robots.
But it's true. But
that's his feelings. He felt very frustrated after the game, and fine for you to say, "Oh, hold on a minute, Andy. Relax. You're after losing your knockout game. The referee made a few mistakes."
Somebody for doing their job. You can't. Like, it comes down to, I'll fucking take your head off, right?
I know.
He's a big lad.
I know, and he'll know that that's wrong. He'll know that he went too far, but I'm still saying my point.
Apologise, that's all.
My point is, it's still a reaction. It's when he opened the doors to that bus, you think that because it's a half an hour later he should have calmed down, he should realise there's journalists talking to his players. What I think is he opened that door and saw red again straight away, and obviously what he said was wrong.
Somebody needs to manage the anger there, if that's if it's still boiling like
maybe
that.
Anger management.
Yeah. All right.
Look, the next topic we have is the Dublin funding issue. Look, my 2 points in it. One, it has obviously nothing to do with this current crop of Dublin players. Probably the best team of all time. They have the funding to them. What has gone on means no difference. This is a team that has come along, that have gelled together, that have an unbelievable bunch of athletes, great footballers, unbelievable managers in Pat Gilroy and Jim Gavin, and great backroom teams. That money is obviously coming from probably sponsorship money, but the money that the funding that is out there is not relating to Dublin's success at senior level. If it was relating to success, they'd have won the last 7 or 8 minor championships, under 20s, whatever. That would be a direct correlation between that. The second thing would be, I heard someone once say about maybe pooling all these sponsorships to get them together so we can kind of help other teams around that maybe have a hotel giving them 30 grand when you have AIG giving Dublin 1.5 million or whatever it is. So putting them together, they do it in the NFL, but obviously the NFLs don't have their sponsors across the front of the jerseys.
So the NFL shares absolutely everything, every jersey sold, with the exception of the Dallas Cowboys, because they keep all that money. But if you buy a 49ers jersey, or if you buy a Cleveland Browns jersey, all of that revenue is pooled centrally, and at the end of the year it gets divvied out. Likewise, all the TV deals get divvied out. You make some money in your own stadiums. You get your own. I think you get your own attendance, but that's the only thing. Maybe you only get the concessions at your ground. Maybe even attendances are shared. So everything is shared because they appreciate that some of the markets are bigger than others, and for competitive reasons they want everybody to have the same access to competition.
That's kind of what we want here too, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So
on the competitive side,
you could absolutely do that, and if you were to do that properly, you'd be talking about not letting O'Neill's have the single monopoly which they have, apart from like 1 or 2 teams who have Azuri on the shirt. So suddenly you have Nike do 5 shirts, Adidas do 5 shirts, Puma do 5 shirts, and O'Neill do 5 shirts, 5 county shirts, and all the money is pooled. So it doesn't matter if you've got Cork or the Dubs one year, you'll get them again at some point in the future.
Yes.
You could absolutely do that and boost the money up. Everybody could have one sponsor across their jerseys for the 33 teams, and all that money gets pooled. So you could have a massive deal with somebody if you wanted to, or you could have 5 of those deals, and it doesn't matter again who you get, because you're going to get equal access. I think the one thing that this has thrown up is that we don't know where the money goes in the GAA, really. The accounts are not as opaque as they should be for an amateur volunteer organisation, even though we hear so much about that. I would agree with you that the money that is being spent on the coaching is going to coaching, and it's clear that that's going to coaching, and you can see that when you go to any of the Dublin GAA clubs. The number of kids who are there and the number of coaches is a direct impact on the kids being coached in schools by the GPOs. I'm not sure that I agree with the fact that you can't correlate underage success. The underage success will come. So they now have 40 minors who are inter-county standard, and 40 under-17s, and 40 under 16, 17, 18, 19. They'll have strength and depth in those numbers, and they might not be great at picking out which ones are just. But when it gets to senior,
they will get their players through.
Exactly. So the Fenton not making it as an under 21, that's a kind of famous story. And those teams get beaten in one-off games in underage, but they've industrialised the process of getting the best players through. So this will have a knock-on impact. The greatest team of all time that they have now might come down a level or two, but it'll still be
they'll still be always competitive, but they are a juggernaut now. Dublin GAA is a juggernaut, so whatever the funding is and whatever it was can be kind of I think they can definitely hold back and start spreading out the money elsewhere, because of number one, players-wise in Dublin, what this current Dublin team are doing, they don't even know it now, probably this bunch of players, but it's inspiring so many kids all around Dublin. So really, if there was no coaches, kids would be still landing down with their Dublin jerseys on, and if there was 100 of them and one coach, they'd be delighted because they're playing and they think they're going to be a Dublin footballer or a camogie player or a hurler or whatever down the line. So they have to start kind of evening it out big time and even going the opposite way, because Dublin is self-sufficient, I think, right now, with how good they're doing and how good they are going to do, and the sponsorship and the money and the jerseys. Like, how many jerseys are they selling? How many bits of gear are they selling?
And so here's the thing: you either allow the way the funding is currently working to continue, but you need to redistribute the sponsorship deals that they're getting to everybody else, or you decide that you're going to make the sponsorship deals that they're getting pay for their coaching.
Yeah.
As it stands at the minute, they've got this money that they can ring fence for the senior inter-county team, which does have an impact. The best strength and conditioning. Yeah. The best backroom teams, the kind of one-to-one that you need.
I know, I just don't want to take away from how good that this current crop of players are. And you'll get these players together, they'll go along and they'll do something special, which they've done. And then Dublin will come back a small bit to the field, and somebody else will come. Maybe it's Kerry with all these young fellas in 4 or 5 years we're talking about. But the splitting Dublin up, the blaming the money is just bothering me, because I think it's taken... I heard your, I was watching your paper review, and McManaman, and he's right. We're actually giving them something to...
I know, it's mad.
We're giving them something to kind of go, we'll get the 5 in a row, we'll prove them all wrong.
They're the chippiest 4 in a row team of all time.
But they are, but you have to always look for an edge. Yeah. That's the edge they're going to. Even when we were really successful around with Kerry, we were always looking for just someone to say something. Because... you hear that, and we'd start talking to each other about it, and it'd just become another thing that would drive us another small bit. So yeah,
it's fair enough. We got to move on to the NBA. You backed the right horse. You were picking Giannis as the player of the year. He was player of the year.
Yeah, he was player of the year without a doubt. Giannis, and to be quite honest, he would have got defensive player of the year as well, but they probably couldn't give him 2 awards. So Gobert got that. Sixth man was Lou Williams, 100%, a walking bucket. He'd be a starter on most teams. And Siakam was the most improved, and you can't be going wrong with that. Another few things going on in the NBA and basketball. They're exploring cutting the season. Hallelujah, 82 games, too much, too many dead rubbers, too many games where, you know, we're just not getting the best bang for our buck. They're on about cutting it down to 62 games. So that's something, or maybe 72, they're the 2 brackets, because I think it's 72. You play everybody 3 times and play everybody in a non-conference twice, so you're going away, you know, less, so there's less travel and all that. But yeah, no, it's interesting that they're going to do that. They're going to look for it in 3 years' time, because I think they have so many deals and stuff, they can't do it now, but in 2022, I think they're going to come in with this and try it. Some of the transfer rumours on about Kemba is looking at going to the Celtics. He's going to be the Celtics and Lakers, I think, are going to go for him, because he's an unbelievable player. He's not quite Kyrie, but I think he'll actually be possibly a better fit for the Celtics.
Kevin Durant opted out of his contract last night.
He opted out of it. He was always going to do that, because he's getting 31 million if he stays next year injured, whereas he opts out now. And do the Warriors want him? And if they want him, they want him for 5 years, and he gets 180 million or whatever he gets. So he's opted out to kind of open up everybody and really find out who really wants him for the long haul. Probably the Achilles is a big factor in that, because he's a small bit of a gamble now, and a guy that's 7 foot and that runs and jumps around the place like he does. But as I said on the shot clock a few weeks ago, he's not that kind of explosive LeBron. He doesn't really use I think he's very crafty basketballer. And the other big transfer one is Jimmy Butler from the Sixers going to the Rockets, and the Rockets giving them Clint Capella, who's their big man, who James Harden loves throwing the alley-oops to, PJ Tucker, who's a kind of a journeyman, tough guy on defence, and Eric Gordon, who was very good last year for the Rockets. So that'll be an interesting one to see how that plays out. But yeah, we're getting into the kind of very interesting time now in free agency.
The transfer season is one of the best NBA seasons, it turns out. Let's move on, because we want to talk to James Sugrue, who is basking in the glory of a place in the 2020 Masters and the US Open, having won the Amateur Open Championship in Portmarnock at the weekend. This is an amazing story.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Huge kind of excitement. I heard I think it was the captain of the golf club talking on radio last week, and yeah, he was welling up with tears and everything, because he was up there and he'd followed him around and he'd gone on the journey with James, and yeah, just the excitement of, you know, the winning it, and obviously what comes afterwards is hugely exciting.
James, good morning to you.
Hi, Joe, how are you?
How's it going?
Yeah, very well now.
Has all this sunk in just yet?
Yeah, I suppose it has really. It's just still, I don't think I'll really kind of believe it until I do go up to Portrush and get to tee it up in the open. You know, it's just kind of hard. It sounds a bit strange to say it even.
James, how's it going, man? Well done.
Hi, Kieran, how are you?
Not too bad, buddy. Well done. Just, what's it like to kind of win under that type of pressure? And what I mean by that is the match, obviously, and to win it with everybody around you and following you, but then to know, obviously you know while the match is going on, you probably try not to think about it, but all these things that open up, the Open, playing in Augusta next year, the US Open, all them stuff that come with it, how were you coping with that pressure as the match was going on, or did you even think about it, or did it creep in at any time?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really think about it at all. The only time I did think about it was probably the night before the final when I was lying in bed. I just kind of was like, geez, if I have a good day tomorrow, I'll be teeing it up in Augusta next year. So yeah, I was just trying to keep that out of my mind, to be honest. It was obviously kind of hard enough to not think about it when you're just lying in bed looking at the ceiling, but yeah, while I was actually playing, I wasn't thinking about it, to be honest.
When was the first time you came across golf?
I suppose when I was about, my auntie's husband kind of took me out when I was like 10. They lived pretty close to the driving range, so he would have kind of been the first person to take me out. I way preferred hurling and football up until I was about maybe 14 or 15. I remember we had this like Cork tournament and it didn't go great, and then my golf coach kind of said that it's kind of one or the other, and I just said, I'll give the golf a shot, and thankfully I did now. And
you know the way when you played the hurling and football and you're having a bad day at training, you're having a bad day in a game, and a teammate will pull you out of it, or a teammate will get a goal the last minute to make up for your mistake. How lonely is it doing all the practice in golf, and does that get hard when you don't have someone there, when you're hitting a bad shot after bad shot and you don't have someone there to pull you away? How lonely is a driving range at that time when you're trying to get as good as you can be?
Yeah, like it isn't the best place in the world when you're in that kind of a situation, but I suppose it's important to have good coaches and good people around you, and they'll tell you what to do. And people, especially people that have been there already, you know, people that you know that have been pro or have played golf at a very high level, they'll kind of know, you know, like for example, like if that happened to me, I obviously wouldn't be the first person to be in that situation. There's plenty of people that was before me, and yeah, just people with experience telling you what to do and what not to do is a big help, really.
When in the process of the practicing and all the hours of commitment that you put in, when in that journey did you actually say to yourself, I'd like to become a pro at this, I'd like to tee it up with Tiger and Rory and all these guys? When did that come into your head? At what stage did that dream start filtering in?
I suppose when I kind of, a few years ago really, when I started playing kind of with international players and then seeing them to go on to do good things, and then playing like home internationals in, I can't remember what every year it was, when I was like about 16 or so, with like Matt Fitzpatrick and them, and then only a couple of years ago playing with like Robert McIntyre and, you know, all these lads that I would have kind of known, and now they're on tour. So I'm kind of like, you know, it's kind of a strange game in that sense where, you know, you need a break, obviously. Yeah. And if you take advantage of the break, then anything is possible.
Well, so you've got the break now, just take advantage of it. Go win the Open, go win the Open there in 3 or 4 weeks' time.
Exactly. That would be nice. Right.
What was the homecoming like in Mallow?
Yeah, geez, it was a bit mad. Right?
How many days did it last?
In about 3 or 4 days anyway.
3 or 4 days, Joe. That's a good county final or an All-Ireland win there, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. But yeah, it was mad. To be fair to them, we didn't get home to Mallow until 12 o'clock that night. Like, and the bar was still absolutely packed. People waiting for me down the stairs.
Don't get the bar in trouble, no.
There was no drink being served.
No, there wasn't. No. You're all sitting around having chats.
We're all sitting around having my wad, yeah. But yeah, it was unbelievable. I don't believe there was a fierce crowd there, and there was a fierce crowd that travelled up as well.
Yeah, that must have been big. That must have been big for you, James, with the amount of people, because that's one thing I heard. That man, I can't think of his name now, talk about was the amount of people.
John, probably.
Yeah, John.
O'Keefe.
That's right. Yeah. How? Because we talk about here, myself and Gerard and Shocklock all the time, about the home advantage and how vital it is in the GAA, and that sometimes it's underplayed, whereas in American sports it's huge, obviously. But
yeah,
you had home advantage last week.
Yeah.
What was it worth to you? Where, did it get you out of trouble at times? Did it spur you on at times?
Yeah, definitely. Even the lads from Portmarnock Golf Club that I know, and even lads that I didn't know before the week started, and now I know them. You know, they all there were so many of them. I don't know. There was a few numbers being thrown around, like 3,000 or 4,000 or something. Watching. So there was a huge number of people out there, and it only felt like freaking 99% of them were following me. You know, it was especially there was this one elderly man, and his name was Eric O'Brien, and he followed me for the 2 practice days, and he followed me for every single day. He followed me for every single hole, and I don't want to say what age he is, but he was old enough, you know, and I just thought it was unreal. I've never met the man before in my life, and he followed me for every single day. I just thought it was very nice of him, and it was just unbelievable.
You'd have to give him tickets for Portrush and say, bring him again. He might be a good look home and a good look charm for you.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he was there anyway after the week, because he really was very good, to be fair to him.
Yeah. Look, listen, James, congrats and everything. Now, before you go, I want to put you into the washer. This is a very simple, fun quiz at the end of it. The famous Ogie Moran, the Kerry footballer, does this to people at weddings, and it's called Ogie's Washer. Basically, when you're half steamed, he puts you in there and asks you a load of questions, and you just answer with your selection. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 names, and you pick your best ones. Rapid fire, 12 questions. It'll be a piece of cake for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, well.
Christy Ring or Jimmy Barry Murphy?
Christy Ring.
Sean Ogg or Brian Corcoran?
Brian Corcoran.
Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus?
Tiger Woods.
Augusta or St Andrews?
Augusta.
Titleist Pro V or any other ball?
Titleist Pro V.
Links or Parkland?
Links.
Roy Keane or Robbie Keane?
Roy Keane.
Katie Taylor or Conor McGregor?
Katie Taylor.
Brian O'Driscoll, Paul O'Connell?
Paul O'Connell.
Ron O'Gara, Johnny Sexton?
Ron O'Gara.
Bill Clinton or Barack Obama?
Bill Clinton.
Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
LeBron.
Oh, Fergal's going to kill you for that.
I thought that one was a bit risky, alright. I said I'd go.
Fergal O'Sullivan, my Warriors teammate, and Darren O'Sullivan, the Warriors captain, would have played a good bit of golf with James, so they gave me the lowdown on that. Look, listen, James, thanks very much for jumping on Shot Clock, and really do wish you the best of luck. We might even try and get you in maybe before or after the Open or the Augusta or one of them.
Yeah, no problem at all, Kieran, anytime.
Fair play, James. Best of luck, man.
Congratulations, James. Good stuff. That's a life-changing event, because you get to play the Open this year, and then there's the Masters and the US Open next year.
So just imagine driving up Magnolia Lane.
And playing it.
That's what I'm trying to get, the actual buzz of getting up there, kind of going, Jesus, I'm going to be playing it. We've played. I'm sure James, like myself, is worn out from playing Tiger Woods. I nearly know I could caddy for someone. I could caddy for a pro in Augusta.
Are you volunteering there?
I've played some. Yeah, James, if you're stuck in Augusta, I've played a rake of it in Tiger Woods golf. I know every read. I know every putt. I was getting so good at Tiger Woods golf. I used to take off the grid that I'd read the greens, hills, and things, and I'd be trying to. But then it'd be all going great. I'd be 2 under, really hard to do it, and then I'd have a horror show on one of the greens and kind of end up firing the remote off the wall.
Anger management issues abound.
It's a good job there wasn't the media reporter asking me about stuff there.
Predictions this week. We're going to start with the Munster hurling final. Who have you got?
I think I've got Limerick. And I just think Limerick have been tipping along. I think Bonner is a huge loss for Tipperary, and I think Limerick have been kind of humming along, and I think this is where they kind of really kind of stamp their authority on the country and kind of say, yeah, we're the best team in the land and you're going to have to try and come beat us.
I think it's a straightforward win for Tipperary. Ooh. I think the Tipperary up the ante significantly this week. And
all right.
Push out to everybody that the shadow boxing. When you named your fake team, Limerick, we knew what you were doing. Yeah. And we didn't go full bore. Now, granted.
Are we having a score on it?
Carl Barrett and.
Are we having a score? 20 euros?
I think a 5-6 point win for Tip.
We'll have 20 euros on the result.
Okay.
Okay. That'll be handover next week in Shocklock. What's next? Mayo and Armagh, Ger?
Mayo and Armagh.
Yeah, I know.
Dermot O'Connor gone.
I know. Armagh have loads of momentum.
I'm going to go for Armagh.
Go on, be brave.
I'm going to go for Armagh.
Yeah. And I've, on my notes, I've Armagh by a point, but the Mayo people will kill me because I picked Roscommon the last time we were up there as well.
You stick with that one, I'll change to Mayo if you want. No, I'm going to stick with Armagh.
Yeah, I think Mayo, even for, because he broke his hand or wrist and we don't know how severe the injury is. He's 8 weeks. And I think I don't know him personally, but just knowing him as an athlete out on the pitch, Dermot O'Connor will play with a cast on and a few injections. So they could kind of have the goal now, they could have that carrot to get their captain to a final. Sometimes them things work, sometimes they don't. But in Castlebar, without them, I think the Mayo crowd will be massive and it might just get them over the line. It'll actually be a belter. I'd like to say a draw, but sure, it can't be a draw because it's going to go to extra time and penalties.
It could be a draw after extra time. If it goes to extra time, then that prediction of a draw is correct.
Okay.
We'll take that one. And then Kildare against Tyrone, Newbridge or nowhere, it's Newbridge. I have that weird, stupid confidence that sports fans get before a game. I was concerned about the Antrim game. Kildare came out and blitzed Antrim. It was never even a contest.
Yeah.
And
confident?
No, it's the confidence of the insane.
Oh yeah.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense that Kildare would beat Tyrone at this stage. Like Tyrone came in a league game, was it last year? Whenever it was, Kildare doing really well up to like 69 minutes, and then Tyrone just.
But it would have made no sense for them to beat Mayo down there really last year either.
No, it didn't. Although there was that weird thing that happened that week that everybody got galvanised.
Yeah.
And they had Daniel Flynn. There's no Daniel Flynn this year.
Yeah, he's a big loss. Yeah, no, I was iffy. I was kind of in the middle during the week, but I think I've gone with Tyrone by 3 or 4.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I do. I think they're in a. I think they got badly stung and it would have hurt them in All-Ireland finalists last year, getting beaten the way they did by Donegal, and there would have been some hard truths in that dressing room afterwards, and I think they'll be on a major point-proving buzz until they get into the Super 8s, and it'll continue from there.
You're obviously coming to Abu Dhabi for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. It's from the 17th to the 23rd of November in Abu Dhabi, but next week you're going to be in Lahinch playing the Pro-Am. Is Shocklock coming live from Lahinch?
Yeah, Shocklock coming live from Lahinch next Thursday morning, so looking forward to that. It might be a late night, Wednesday night, depending on how the Pro-Am goes. It can be scary. I'm also playing in the Armada Atlantic Golf Shootout on Tuesday with Evan Talty and Doonbeg, so that'll be a nice warm-up. Good names on there: Paul O'Connell, Joe Canning, myself, Aidan O'Shea, so that should be a bit of crack.
You're up against Conor Moore? Connor Sketches?
I'm up against Connor Sketches, yeah. There's
middle of your backswing, he'll be turning into Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I think so. He probably once he doesn't start going slagging me, I don't mind. But it'll be a bit of crack. Yeah, he's talking a bit of smack on Instagram and Twitter, and he's putting up his golf swing. So we got a bit of crack out of that last night, and. No, I'm sure it'll be a very entertaining round with the way he is, because he's a good character. I've been around him a good few times. We went on a night out in Dublin there about a year ago, so he's good fun.
Kieran, good stuff. Shocklock it in the books. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Ger.
We'll talk next week from Doonbeg. Paddy Tally, the Down manager's up next, talking Super 8s.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online, and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our brand new field sport covered pitches. Find out more on nationalsportscampus.ie.
Yeah, so full details of how you can come along to the OTB Open, just get on to offtheball.com/open. It will be an amazing week. 5 nights in the 4-star hotel in Abu Dhabi. You get to play Yaz Links, you get to play the National. We were hearing yesterday from Shane Larry about how good a course the National is. It's got that world famous clubhouse. You should Google that. So Kevin Kilban's going to be there, Kieran Donaghy's going to be there, Peter Lawry's going to be there, and we will be announcing somebody else who will be joining that setup in the coming days. From the 17th to the 23rd of November. If you want to get some winter sun, book it now, pay your deposit, and you can pay the rest as the time approaches. Get on to offtheball.com/open.
Are you going? Yeah?
You haven't been invited yet?
Bringing your talents to the Middle East?
You didn't make the cut for this just yet?
No, I haven't. Where's the invite?
You know, you just need to prove yourself on, you know?
I think... You know me, when it comes to athletic endeavours, I don't need to even prove myself.
You weren't really worthy of your place on the triathlon team. You were, you know...
Greatness is a gift, not something you need to prove.
Let's move on. We're talking Super 8s, and I'm delighted to say we've got the Down manager, Paddy Tally, with us. Paddy, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, guys.
I guess you're very well placed to talk about some of the games coming up this weekend in particular. We were chatting there with Kieran Donaghy about the Mayo Armagh game in particular, and just how quickly Armagh are improving as the season progresses. With every game, they've got better and better, and they even managed to take defeat in their stride relatively straightforward. And for a young team, a trip through the qualifiers can be a very important way of playing regular matches and bonding. So where are they in their evolution at the moment, do you think, Paddy?
Yeah, I think Armagh have been doing really well. This last couple of years they've been building a team, and I think 2 key changes this year have happened for Armagh. It's the introduction of Eoin O'Neill and Charlotte O'Burns. And I think the 2 lads have given a freshness to the team and I suppose an attacking edge that maybe they're missing out on. So I think they're in a really good position now going into this match. They bounced back very well from the Championship defeat, and I'd expect them to be confident going into the Mayo match. I would see themselves having a genuine opportunity.
I remember talking to McGeaney when he was the Kildare manager about his philosophy and what he wanted the team to be, and he talked about wave motion and Olympic handball as opposed to being a defensive side. And if you think about now how teams are playing, the whole notion of a team being a defensive team or an attacking team is kind of nonsensical. Like, no one really thinks that a team is just one type or the other. And if I was to think back to that Kildare team, they kind of were a prototype for what a good team today should be. Very strong defensively, but able to break forward in numbers very quickly, and when it was required of them, able to hit early ball. It seems like that was a good prototype for where football is today, and it seems that Armagh are just a new iteration of that, except with much better inside forwards than that Kildare team had.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair assumption. I think Kieran built a team in the Kildare too that time that were physically very strong as well. A big team that you can go direct to midfield and then you can go direct again. Cuts out a lot of misplaced passes and maybe opportunities for errors. So this Armagh team, I think at the moment they have a good balance. They have a balance of having a bit of physical strength, but they also have a lot of good players on the ball, and they break very fast in defence, which we found out when we played them in the Championship game, and I think they're getting better as things go on. So I think they've established themselves now as one of the better teams in Ulster, but it's taken a wee bit of time. But I go back to what I said, I think the introduction of a few new players this year has made a big difference. So I think the prototype that Kieran's been working on, if you want to call that, there has definitely now starting to show rewards.
What would your plan have been against Armagh, and what would your plan have been against Mayo, and how different were those 2 sides to come up against?
Well, the Armagh game is a bit of a derby game, and the Down and Armagh players know each other pretty well. That was a really good game of football. Both teams went at it hard, and I think it was a game that sort of hung on a few big incidents in the match. I think Down going to 14 really affected the game. I think losing Keelan, because he's one of those players that can give you a great pace going forward. But even in extra time, I thought Armagh kicked on strong. We were in a good position at half time, but we couldn't actually close the game out. And I think that just that wee bit of know-how they had maybe come against us. The Mayo game was completely different for us because we sort of got into that game. We knew that we were up a very experienced Mayo team who were probably going to set up slightly different, Armagh, a bit more defensive, which is strange for Mayo, but probably their thoughts were just get out of nearly the result, and they did. But in both cases, the physical aspect was something we were very aware of, that both teams possessed very big players, strong players around the middle. If you take the Mayo midfield, Jim O'Connor and Aidan O'Shea last week, and if you take the Armagh midfield with Charlie O'Burns and lads like that around the middle of Charlie Vernon and Mel Grimley, and that we sort of knew that both teams possessed physical players. So you have to sort of work your way around it and try and run the ball as much as possible and try and avoid maybe the ball going to the middle of the field and kick-outs. But I think they're well matched. They're going up each other in terms of having the same type of players, but they've also got a lot of good running players too, so it'll be a really interesting game.
You would have been at the coalface last year when Galway took Mayo out of the Connacht Championship. Coming up against them this year, 12 months on, how have they developed?
The Mayo team, I think funny enough, I think they're not as strong as they were last year. I think Mayo last year, I felt that they probably had more options last year the way they were playing, and I think Galway really did really well to come out of Castlebar with that result that day. Mayo at the moment, I think, to be honest with you, the couple of losses I had, I think Matthew Duran's a big loss in the middle of the field, who was showing great promise to the league. I just read this morning where Jim O'Connor has broken his wrist. I think too that's a big blow at this moment of time. And the facts are that Mayo aren't getting any younger. A lot of the players there now they're just calling upon for that game against Down. James Horn had to go back to Colin Boyle and to a lot of Keith Higgins, Andy Moore, and a lot of the older players. So I think that maybe Mayo, in terms of youth development, they haven't really uncovered enough and an awful lot different this year than they had last year. So I'd say that this could be the last roll of the dice for a few of those players.
And what are the probability on that dice showing up something good? Because it certainly seems, as you mentioned, the injuries, it's going to be a big ask. Because ultimately, what is success for this team this year, for James Horn going back? Like, he's surely thinking All-Ireland when he gets back into the Mayo dressing room.
I think the only reason probably James went back was to win All-Ireland. There's no doubt about that. And I think these few yards he's been dealt now with losing a couple of players is going to be very difficult for him. I think that if there would have been one last kick in this team, he needed everybody going really well. He needed a full, clean bill of health, and he needed those few new players to come in to provide energy and to maybe give something different. But this isn't Castlebar. The crowd will be fully behind Mayo, and if there's going to be a big performance in them, you're going to see it on Saturday night.
I don't know what's going to happen. I can't make my mind up, because you've just seen these games in the qualifiers from Mayo in the past where they don't set the tone. They're not the aggressor. They're not the one who are actually inflicting their game plan on the opposition, almost irrespective of who the opposition is. And that wasn't the hallmark of the original James Horan team. The original James Horan team were swashbuckling and aggressive and goal scoring early in games to kind of kill teams off. So, is this going to be a non-James Horan qualifier performance, or is this going to be an original James Horan special? I can't tell what's going to happen, Paddy.
I think go back to what I said there. I think the James Horan teams, like a few years ago, the teams we remember that went toe-to-toe with Dublin, were when a lot of those players were at the peak of their powers. And when you could really go, when you had players of the like of, say, Keith Higgins or Colin Boyle or Donny Vaughan and Killian at that time was probably the best forward in Ireland in terms of scoring return. So Aidan O'Shea was a few years younger, and all those guys were really playing very, very well. I think this is just a team that's maybe gone slightly over the other side. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think time is catching up with a few players, and they maybe haven't got that capacity to go toe to toe at the start of the game and really blast the team out. I think go back and say that these losses that they've had injury-wise are going to affect them, especially in the game, I guess, for when they needed that big start. That was a traditional thing for Mayo. They were quite in the blast team early in the game, and if they get themselves in position, then they could see the rest of the game out. But even we found last week that you could keep in touch with Mayo right through the match, and they were susceptible to be opened up at the back, which wouldn't have been a trait of the Mayo team a number of years ago.
Is there anything you can put down to the psychology of playing down to the opposition or playing up to the opposition? Because Mayo have done that. If you take their baseline, they have played up to Dublin in recent years. Can you ever make sense of that?
Not really, no. No, I just think that I think they're a super team. I just think that really that Mayo team were, if we're back a few years ago, were one of the best teams that never won All Ireland, and the team that was able to go toe to toe with Dublin. And some of those games were the best games we've watched in years, and on a few very small things determined those results. But it's hard to keep going back year on year and not having success, and trying to reinvent yourself. Because the one thing Dublin has been able to do is they've been able to reinvent themselves and bring in a few new players. The team that won All Ireland 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's unrecognisable news the team is playing today with the number of new players they have brought in. So I think if you look at the Mayo team, that wouldn't have happened. They would still be relying on a lot of the same players and really demanding very, very big performances out of those players.
Paddy, give us a prediction.
I think we could see Armagh taking Mayo at the weekend. I think Armagh have got their momentum back after the Ulster final defeat. I think they had a very comfortable win last weekend, and I think this could be a game for them. Right, yeah. Well, that would be a big event. All right. One last question for you. I'm interested to see what you think about the Tyrone Kildare game. The fact that it's in Newbridge probably evens it up a little bit, but you'd still make Tyrone favourites for that, and everybody is making Tyrone favourites for that. If Kildare are to win this game, what do they need to do? Oh, this is going to be a big game for both teams. I think that Kildare have they used it really well last year. You have the Newbridge in nowhere last year to sort of lit up the Kildare support, and I'm sure they're going to come out in their numbers on Saturday even to get behind the team as well. It's a big game for Kildare. I just think that the Tyrone, that win last week, will have got them back on the road again. Sometimes Tyrone don't spark that early in the qualifiers, but they know they're going to Kildare. It's a tight pitch. Kildare will be physical and have potential, but I just feel that Tyrone maybe have a little bit too much up front. When it comes to these matches, Tyrone are able to create enough scoring chances, and they can be pretty clinical. So I think that I say Tyrone by 3 or 4 points in this game. All right, fair enough, Paddy. Thanks for joining us this morning. Cheers. Okay, lads. Take care. It's Paddy Tally, the Down manager there, giving us his thoughts on the weekend's GAA. Actually, another prediction. All the great minds coming out for Armagh in the last half an hour of the show. Mayo are going to win on Saturday. Do you think so? Mayo are going to win. Like, they're two crucial players that they're missing from the campaign in which they became league champions. In a campaign that Armagh were Division 2, going into a championship where Mayo have home advantage. Granted, momentum is in Armagh's favour, but momentum is in Mayo's favour as well. They went to Newry and won. It's a good down team, coached by Paddy Tally, the coach that took Mayo out of Connacht last year, was a contributing factor to it anyway. I think Mayo are going to win on Saturday. All right, we'll see. Joey Carberry here on the show last night in studio alongside Joe. The full interview is up on youtube.com/off the ball. Here he is talking about the differences in the Leinster and Munster dressing rooms. Didn't know Limerick at all, really. I played down there once with Clontarf. Other than that, not really. But to be honest, I was lucky. I knew enough of the guys from the Irish team, and then played underage Irish 20s with a lot of them. So it actually worked out perfectly, to be honest. I actually jumped in with Conor Oliver and Jeremy Lockman, who would have been friendly with since I was about 12 or 13. So, as in to live with them? Yeah, I just jumped in with them. So they made the move really easy, being able to just jump in with them, and they showed me the places. But I probably knew half the dressing room before I even went down, so that was another big comfort blanket, yeah. Because remember the first videos, the first interviews, the jokes up here were like it's a hostage video, and they're making him say he likes it and all this stuff. Yeah. But it does seem like you have settled in really well. And off the pitch, how's that process of settling into a completely new place? Yeah, to be honest, it's not like I have to get on a plane to come home either. My parents live in Athy, which is probably an hour and 20 minutes from Limerick. So just hop on the M7. I could come home on a Tuesday evening if I wanted to. So those roadworks are fun. I'm the other side of the roadworks. Thankfully, I don't have to come through them. But I settled in very quickly, and that's one of the biggest things I loved about going down was I felt welcome straight away. Yeah. I never felt like I was uncomfortable. And I think that's down to the people. So it's huge to them. How do the two dressing rooms compare? Similar. I'd say you have to have thicker skin down in the Munster one. Right. But that's a good thing though. If they didn't slag you, they take no prisoners. But if they didn't slag you, then you wouldn't. You kind of know they didn't like you. And that's how it goes around here, right on. It's true. If you're not getting the slagging, you're not worth being around here or whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Phil, how are you? Good, yeah.
Was it you suggested that we have a fight last night? Was that your suggestion?
No.
Somebody was suggesting it last night.
Maybe nobody suggested it and this is just a figment of your imagination.
It was on Twitter. It must be real. On Off the Brawl. You were talking about the triathlon.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody suggested I'd like to see them fight white-collar boxing.
Oh, that was Ronan.
Right.
Yeah. The promoter. Yeah, I was just... I was asked about the triathlon and I just said how Ger was the star of the show.
I've never concussed an old man before and I don't think I want to start now.
Wow. There's gloves behind you there.
Didn't the table take out your face? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like...
I've got scars.
Show me your scars.
Table.
I've got plenty of scars.
It's very...
They're all emotional.
It was a very sharp table.
We'll have to do a white-collar boxing next time. I'd like to see Ger versus Eoin. I mean, for charity, Eoin. White-collar.
The only charity I need is the gleeful feeling I'll get from, making sure your brain gets sent to another dimension.
You never learn, Eoin, do you?
I could be Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, I'm definitely not Anthony Joshua, so I don't know where that comparison begins and ends, but anyway.
Go on.
We'll get to the boxing in just a moment, but there is more Irish in action at the European Games in Minsk. Chloe and Sam McGee have won their mixed doubles match in the badminton. They were taking on Belarus 2-0. That win doesn't guarantee a place in the quarterfinals just yet. They need France to beat Russia. And if that happens, then Ireland qualify for the last 8. But if Russia were to win, then there would be a 3-way tie and points will decide who progresses to the quarterfinals. So we'll see how that one works out. Yesterday, obviously, was all about the Irish boxers. Michaela Walsh, Gráinne Walsh, Kurt Walker and Kelly Harrington all advanced to the semi-finals of their respective weight divisions. And it means they're obviously guaranteed medals to add to the ones already guaranteed by Regan Buckley and Michael Nevin. The semi-finals will all take place tomorrow. World champion Kelly Harrington beat Irma Testa of Italy in her first fight of the Games, and she said she was glad to get into the ring after a long wait.
It felt great to be back in. Haven't had a fight since February, so I'm happy with the performance, and I know now that my fitness is there and it'll drive me on now in the next fight. It's great that to be on the same team where everyone else is medaling, and it's great for Irish boxing and it's great for Irish sport.
Must have been frustrating for her while everybody else is medaling. She's like, come on, let me get in the ring.
Yeah, and she was talking about that as well, being the top seed. She has to wait around, and obviously there is not much to do. There's a food court which you can go in, but she can't eat any of the food because she obviously has to keep an eye on her weight. So it just seems it's all set up for her to fight Potkin and the Finn that knocked Katie Taylor out in Rio.
I'm sure there's some Minsk tourism, right? Stuff that you can go and a friend of mine was in Belarus recently.
Well, like go down after all the recent fanfare, go down and see the Chernobyl memorial site and all that, or whatever the touristic venture is.
Yeah, that'll be and get your selfies taken in there.
Yeah. Become an influencer, Kelly.
Been a rough summer for Offaly hurling fans. Senior team obviously relegated from the Joe McDonagh Cup to the Christie Ring. Kildare beat Offaly in the Leinster Minor Championship, but maybe a glimmer of hope at Parnell Park last night because the faithful county beat Dublin by 129 to 225 after extra time in the quarterfinals of the Leinster Under-20 Championship. Cathal Kiley ended the night with 20 points for Offaly.
Didn't even finish the game, had to go off at half-time or before half-time and extra time. So imagine what it would have been if he'd stayed on for the whole thing. It's insane.
Yeah, great win. Actually, 2008 was the last time Offaly beat a Wexford, Dublin or Kilkenny at what would have been under-21 level.
Is it that long?
Being regraded to under-20.
That is a remarkably long time, isn't it? Without that, that kind of does turn the mood a little bit if it's that long without one. But 20 points.
But sometimes these teams come out of nowhere.
Cyclical, isn't it?
Well, not sure about that. But anyway, where's the money going if the Dublin hurlers can't win? The Dublin hurlers were the ones told to, here lads, sorry, you guys have got to sit down tonight. It's not your night because they were getting too much pressure here from everybody giving out about the money.
Yeah.
You guys could just take one for the team.
Dublin hurling was in such a bad state they didn't even offer to split it in two. The offer wasn't even there. They wanted to keep Dublin whole.
Well, that made sense.
Offaly will play Wexford now in the semi-final. There was also extra time in Carrigan Shannon last night, where Roscommon edged out Leitrim on a scoreline of 3-17 to 4-13 in the Connacht Under-20 Football Championship. So Roscommon will now face Galway. Kerry were crowned Munster Junior Football Champions for the 6th year in a row. They beat Cork at Páirc Uí Rinn by 114 to 13 points. Tonight we've got the first of the Women's World Cup quarter-finals, England against Norway. England manager Phil Neville might have to rejig his defence. There's doubts over the fitness of his central defensive pairing of Steph Houghton and Millie Bright. Houghton or Houghton, whoever...
Houghton.
Houghton.
She's, that's counter-imperialism, that's what exactly, I like to call it.
Yeah. Well, she took part in training, obviously.
Ask Mark Kinsella what he thinks.
We saw the tackle that was put in on Houghton at the end of the Cameroon game on her ankle, but she trained yesterday. Bright has a virus. They reckon she's going to shake it off, but talk about 28 degrees in Le Havre tonight when they play. So I'm not sure if those temperatures are great if you're trying to recover from the virus.
No.
But Leah Williamson and Abby McManus are the two centre halves on standby. Phil Neville has talked about how he's been criticised for rotating his team so much, and he said, well, this is why I did it, in case something like this comes up. Kick-off is at 8 o'clock, and the tournament is not being used as an experiment for new laws. That is what the FIFA referees chief, Pierluigi Collina, has said. Obviously, goalkeeper encroachment at penalties has been a contentious issue. 3 spot kicks have been retaken so far at the tournament. VAR seems to award penalties in every game. I'd be surprised if there isn't one in this game tonight. But he said these new laws have been implemented in the Copa America as well and the African Cup of Nations as well. So
no one cares about them because they're...
There was no World Cup game on last night, so I watched a bit of the African Cup of Nations. Egypt against the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Was Salah playing?
Salah was playing, he scored. El Mohammadi scored the first for Egypt.
Right.
The captain. I think
they won.
They won 2-0.
Defending champions.
Yeah, I think back to when I first started watching the African Cup of Nations. The pitches were dreadful. Goalkeepers would wear tracksuit bottoms and not take their own kickouts. But
talking the 60s here, are we?
Like junior B football.
Early 90s.
It was on Eurosport.
Yeah. It was on Eurosport again last night, but Egypt are into the quarterfinals. Manchester United are expected to confirm their second summer signing later on today. They've agreed a £50 million deal with Crystal Palace for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. The England under-21 international is set to sign for 5 years and will follow Daniel James, who joined United from Swansea. Plays underway at the Andalusia Valderrama Masters in Spain, where American Sheahan Kim leads on 4 under. Paul Dunn, Gavin Moynihan and Michael Howie are all in the field. And the 3-day Derby Festival gets underway at the Curragh tonight. The feature race is the Tote Rockingham Handicap at 7:45. The first is off at 6:15. And obviously the Derby is on Saturday.
We were in Lisbon for the Web Summit, and one of the things that we were doing was an interview with the Benfica president, and so the news coming through in the last 24 hours that Benfica have confirmed Atletico Madrid have made a €126 million offer for João Felix, which is under consideration. He's got a €120 million buyout clause, but the offer is staged. The payments are instalments, so it doesn't actually officially trigger the buyout clause of €120 million. João Felix didn't play in the Champions League game that we watched him play against Ajax because he's too young, basically. He was just getting into first team squad at that stage and they didn't want to risk him. And already at the end of his first proper full season, he's going to go. So here's the president, that's him there, Domingos Oliveira, the Benfica CEO. Literally on that day, he was signing the contract. He had the contract there before. So
for the clause, yeah.
You can't talk about this until tomorrow. We haven't put out the press release yet, but here's the full senior contract that João Felix is signing, and the buyout clause is $126 million. Oh, and you look a lot younger there.
I am younger there. Sure, it was last year.
Your jacket's very big as well.
Yeah, it is. Go for oversized. It's a new in.
You've shaved. That's the difference.
I haven't shaved since then.
Yeah, you look like 20 years younger when you shave. You should probably keep going with that, no?
What, shaving?
The younger thing, because like
he'll come back to it in a few years. He'll learn.
It'll be too late. It'll be gone.
Like, you know, we spend our
hard living
teenage years trying to look older, and then when we get older, we try and look younger.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Still a teenager. He's 24 for another week, 2 weeks.
A few more weeks anyway. Yeah, you'll see.
Big party planned, yeah.
Oh, you know it. Before the training regime for the big fight starts.
That's it.
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. You're all invited, obviously, and everybody at home is invited.
That's our we were right there.
Exactly, that sort of thing.
This is the best place in the world to have a 25th birthday. They should have it here every year.
Wayne Rooney. We haven't.
Oh yeah.
We haven't talked about Wayne Rooney's goal.
I mean, this is exactly what everybody should do: is go off and have the last few years in the MLS to just remind everybody that you were really good ones.
Yeah, brilliant goal. I'm trying to think, rank it in terms of his goals from inside his own half.
I think that might be the best one.
So you've the one against Everton, but Joe Hart gifted the ball to him and he was out of his goal and it was coming towards him, but he showed great control to kind of keep it quite low, to kind of ping it. The one against West Ham.
For Everton. Wait, did he score one for Everton?
He scored one for Everton,
Yeah,
he got
sorry,
a hat-trick. And then he scored two against West Ham.
Yeah.
One
sorry,
for
that's
United,
the one
for
against Joe Hart was for Everton.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
He scored a hat-trick that night. And then...
that was the best one.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because as you say, the ability to keep that one low, it was quite... The ball came at him at a bit of pace to this.
Yeah. And he obviously had to take a bit off it.
Yeah, so that was impressive. Like, obviously, last night's one was just... The range on it was incredible. The goalkeeper, all I saw was the clip. So what was the context of the goalkeeper?
The goalkeeper is on the edge of his box. Just doesn't expect it. Because at the time, they have the... You know, his team have the ball. And
there's the one that Joe Hart saves for Man City, where it's from a corner and Joe Hart is up attacking, which I've just watched now because I was googling to see if I could see it. The ball breaks to Man United and it's actually inside the Man City half, but Rooney hits a big ballooning shot and Joe Hart just gets back and saves it for the length of the field sprint from Joe Hart. Nobody remembers this.
When Joe Hart used to save things.
That one's actually really good. It's not a goal, but it was pretty impressive from Rooney to be able to nearly score from that distance. He was an amazing striker of the ball.
The effort from the goalkeeper and in terms of getting close to the ball is directly proportional to the quality of a halfway line or further away goal. If the goalkeeper's ages away, it doesn't count. If the goalkeeper's flailing back and gets almost his fingertips to it,
there's the keeper there.
So he thinks...
come on, you can't be giving that, Phil. He's outside his own box.
But he's thinking, my team have the ball, I'm okay here. Because, you know, we want to be the sweeper keeper.
Exactly. I think it's fair enough. It's not bad from the young boy. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, all. That's all from us on OTB AM this morning. Good show coming your way tomorrow morning live from 7:30. Anthony Moyes is going to be in studio. Tonight, on Off the Ball live from 7 o'clock, John Giles, and we'll be talking about the Munster hurling final as well. You can, of course, now listen to OTB Sports Radio. We're live and in glorious Technicolor, broadcasting 24 hours a day. Just gone to offtheball.com/radio. Or, of course, you can get us on the new Go Loud app, which is an amazing piece of kit, which has just been released. But that is it for today. We've got Nigel Mansell Legends interview, Jack McCaffrey on Life Outside Football, and Kilkenny Legends panel from a few years back, which is brilliant. Stay tuned.
OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of